Okay, so we're in the we're in the FinCom meeting room. Today is Monday, and it's the 22nd of April. So agenda was emailed in advance, and we're going to really kind of focus now on the warrant and Article 2. So just to give a little bit of an update, the Article 2 that Kathleen prepared is coming with Elizabeth. So when she gets here, she's going to make copies. You can sit up here.
Hi there.
Hi. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So, just kind of calling the meeting to order. Mary Beth is now in attendance. Well, since we're recording and we do have one member on by cell phone, we'll do all of our votes by roll call, and we'll start with attendance. So, Ralph, just give your name.
Ralph Mitchell. Mike Warner.
Rosemary Carmel.
Chuck Colby.
Rick Anderson. And John Noon is on phone.
And John Noon.
Thank you, John. All right, so Kathleen has a medical emergency she had to attend to, so she won't be here tonight. She has done an enormous amount of work to prepare this committee for our commitment to not support the override. This is a pretty hefty task for us to come up with alternatives for funding instead of the override article for $509,000. So let me read from, to start out, the email that Kathleen sent that kind of summarizes what she has put together for, and I'll read her email. So here is a summary of the differences between the fiscal 25 budget, new certification from Selectmen on April 14th, 24, and the budget I am suggesting the Finance Committee presents and recommends. So, so we're going to get copies of that, Article 2. Thank you for coming. And so, just as a summary, the operating expense line has changed to $19,135,687. Surplus/deficit free cash to balance now reads $509,212. So on Article 2 for the FinCom, line 21, operating expense now reads $19,135,687. Total Article 2 now reads $50,685,769. Free cash to balance the deficit now reads $509,212. So under General Fund, Article 2, less water and sewer, still reads $44,952,531. So the fund balance for FinCom. We have voted Articles P3, P4, P5, and P6. Her suggestion is to reconsider the vote on Articles P5 and P6. But since she wasn't on the prevailing side, someone that was will need to vote to reconsider. So, number 6, that she recommends we support the Selectmen's recommendations for Articles P7, P8, and P9. And while we're right there, just realize that we received a brand new Article 2 warrant today, and P9 has been amended in this new copy.
Yes.
So when we get back to the warrant, we're just going to go over that. And then she's questioning Articles P11 and P12, the opioid settlement fund, and the transfer of the funds to Whitman Will. She would like to see more information. She supports capital articles 19 through 26, excluding 23. Michael, you had a question?
Those are just Articles 11 and 12, not P11 or P12.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, okay, good. Thank you for that. So yeah, the P articles do end at 9. So Articles 11 and 12, referring to the opioid settlement and the transfer of funds to Whitman Will. So perhaps Mary Beth can give us some more information while she's here when we get to that. She recommends supporting capital Articles 19 through 26, excluding Article 23. So we talked about this before, information on where the 30 computers are going. But if in fact we do support it, she wants to change the funding source from free cash to capital stabilization for the following articles. Fire panel, $47,000. Police cruiser, $68,140. Technology, phone migration, $60,000. Fire department vehicles, $75,000, and heating circulator pumps, $38,000.
Do you have the article numbers for those, please?
They aren't listed in this summary, but we'll get to them, right? So that's a total of $288,140 from capital stabilization. She supports Article 37, the STIP engineering costs, but believe, as we talked about last week, it should be reduced from $316 to $155.9 based on the information from Bruce Martin. So reducing that request from $316,900. And then add the $509,212 in free cash needed to balance Article 2. So the totals at the end, free cash will be $877,919.33, leaving a free cash balance of $500,836.67, and capital stabilization $288,140, leaving a balance of $393,002.16. So just take this for what it's worth. It's kind of a summary, and we're going to be a little bit tough not having you here at this meeting. So bear with me as I try to navigate her recommendations and the recommendation to support the articles as we're going to present them tonight. So what I would suggest for the committee is to go back into the warrant to start with, and then once we get through that, if we have time, which I think we will, we'll go into the Article 2 that Elizabeth is printing, the one that Kathleen prepared. And we'll go page by page, and we can have the opportunity for the Finance Committee to question any additional articles or line items within the Article 2. Okay?
I quickly want to ask before I
Yeah.
copy a million pages. She had 8 or 9 tabs on the bottom of that file, right? So this first one
Yep.
does not have a FinCom recommendation right there.
So it doesn't have the,
This one does.
okay,
Is this the one that you want?
that's the one we want.
This is the one you want.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for asking. So, that's being printed. Any questions? I just want to say this, too. I just want to go back to the last meeting we had. I kind of made it clear that what I was looking for by having selectmen and the town administrator in the room was some help, right? And Mary Beth has been helpful getting us to this point, helpful providing information. She made copies of the new information we have before us. But what didn't help last week were comments that were made that took us off course, and they kept on going. So what I want to make sure that we don't do tonight is deviate from our course. Our course is to get these recommendations prepared and written into the warrant for town meeting. I think anything else is going to be a distraction, right?
Move to table on it.
Right, so we can even the meeting minutes, if we have time at the end of the meeting tomorrow night, we can go to meeting minutes. But we can come back in June, and even if I'm not on the committee, I commit to coming back and work on meeting minutes. So, but like I said, the main focus tonight is to try, without Kathleen here, it may be difficult, and there may be times where we need to reconsider articles that we vote tonight because they don't go into that plan. Or perhaps, Mary Beth, in the course of your review of the recommendations that Kathleen has put within the Article 2 that the Finance Committee hopes to support, if you see something that, doesn't align, we would hope for your input.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So, everybody, any questions on the format or the direction? Then you have before you a new warrant, which was just approved today. Mary Beth, you want to talk a little bit about the general reason why we have a new warrant before us?
Sure. So we got in the, just edits from the attorney this morning, just some comments and notes, nothing too major. I did receive a phone call first thing this morning from Bruce Martin from the DPW. He said, "You're going to kill me, but I just found a bill, came across a bill, and it was a prior year bill." And I said, "Well, we're not adding any new articles." But then I realized we did have an article for the DPW for the 4525, so I modified that because the bill has to get paid. It's a prior year bill. It just made sense. So that was one of the big changes there.
So we'll just have to reconsider that article and vote the actual new number. That's
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And then when we get to the most of the other changes were when you get to the community preservation. They broke Article 39 up and said, to do 3 articles, so I had to renumber. And then the other ones were really the assessors articles. They had some comments on those, and the Veterans Property Tax Work-Off Program. There were 2 articles there, and so we deleted one of those that they felt was unlawful. So we took that one off, but we can go over that when we get there.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Take off the veterans one
the Veterans Property Tax Work-Off Program.
or the work-off
Yeah.
program?
They kept that. Shannon redid it today with Wendy, and I
Okay.
sent it to the attorney, and the attorney's fine with the revision. But there was a second part, which is really when the selectmen set the guidelines
Right.
after it's accepted, and so that doesn't need to be on there.
Okay.
Yeah, so nothing really big for changes.
Okay.
This is the only dollar change.
Excellent. All right. So
Was there 2 veterans work-off programs, or?
They were titled 2, 2 of them. It was the second one that is no longer there.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to page 1. We started on Article P3. So I just want to just quickly, if you want to refer back to the warrant we worked on last Thursday, you can. But the information and the votes that we took on that day are now reflected in the new warrant. So as you see for Article P3, you can see that the Finance Committee voted 701 to recommend. So,
Yep.
all right?
So there's a color copy on
Yep.
the top and then the rest.
Great.
underneath.
Thank you so much. I'm just gonna put them there for now. I'm gonna put them right here for now. Okay, so then Article P4, if you look on the second page, there's our vote, 701 to recommend. So Article P5, now let's talk a little bit about Article P5 and P6, and let's talk about it in the context. Do you have a question?
I have, yeah, a thought here, Rick, is when we're working on these, what I noted last time is we had a lot of conversation before we ever moved into a motion state, and then we had more commentary after the motion state. My suggestion is let's open with the motion.
Okay,
Then all conversation takes place, at which point, if we're going too far, we can have a move to question and move immediately to the vote on that question. It might help, again, with
with
the
the
extra.
long questions, yeah,
Okay.
okay, yep, all right. So for Article P5, we're looking for reconsideration.
I move to reconsider. I voted in the positive last time.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reconsider Article P5. So let me just quickly run through just the discussion. We actually did have some discussion about this last week, but I missed the boat. I didn't listen to what was being said, and I didn't realize the main problem with this is there's no dollar figure in it, right? There's still a sum of money. And I think it was brought up that our standard response to an article that has no money should be to vote not to recommend. And then on town hall floor, when the dollar figure is then provided, then the finance committee can take a poll, and our recommendation can then be brought to the microphone and presented to town meeting. So I think that's just a better way for us to do it. We're voting a sum of money that, you gave us an estimate, but it's still an estimate.
Correct.
And I don't think I really don't think it's responsible for us to be voting on an estimate. Now, bigger with these two particular articles are the fact that these articles reflect funding for a prior year. That's why they're P articles, right? So typically a P article normally is an unpaid bill, like Mary Beth said about the enterprise advertisement that got missed, or but these actually are asking this town meeting to take some of our levy capacity and apply it to another year. So you're going back in time to fiscal 25's budget, and you're asking, without the consent of that meeting, to add to the salary line of a department, right? So in my mind, that's not right, right? So using a figure, say the police budget line for salaries in fiscal 24 was 8.2%. Now we're asking for an additional sum of money that's going to take them from 8.2 to something else, with really not the consideration of the town meeting that voted the article. So, and then this particular case with Articles P5 and P6, with the dollar amounts that were estimated to be $180,000 inclusive, we're talking about 1/3 of the override, right? So I think Kathleen was pretty clear in her opening statement or summary that capacity is definitely going to be affected by this. The capacity to not recommend the override would be affected if we were to vote these two articles for a sum of $180,000. That represents more or less 1/3 of the 509,000. So, that being said, we're open to discussion, further questions. I just wanted to first just admit that I didn't really consider this in its entirety when I voted to recommend. So, I'm hopeful that, we could reconsider.
I do appreciate that we don't write blank checks under any circumstance. I think an explanation, I think it was said earlier, hey, you get a budget and you go within that budget. And when you're $90,000 over that budget, no matter what department that is, right? We just want to talk to you. We want to figure out why. And if it's happened more than once, or if, was there a law, there was something. I mean, there were reasons that these things happen, right?
Right.
But I need to know. I don't write blank checks.
Right. Okay. Very good. Anybody else? Mary Beth.
I'm not, is it okay if I? All right, so this does say for precedings that they're appropriation for the current or prior fiscal year. So we do use those for some current as well, and this would be current. But, especially like with the police, what they've had for injured on duties and whatnot, we'll see what the number comes in at and how you recommend on the floor, but more than likely they will be short at the end of the year, and we'll be looking for transfers or something at the end of the year. To make up any gap that they have, they'll be looking for it, I should say.
Okay, Rosemary?
Yeah, I'd like to see, essentially, at the end of the year, let's see what we have for money at the end of the year. At that point, too, we could do that. But essentially trying our best not to do an override and increase that levy
Right.
it's kind of the priority right now.
I think that is the priority. Good point. Thank you. All right, so we have a motion to consider and we have a second. All those, further discussion? All those in favor of reconsidering? Ralph?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes?
Rosemary?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, I'll entertain a motion then for a vote on Article P5.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So we'll go around the room. So we're voting not to recommend, I would assume, so it's a yes or a no, right? So we'll start with Ralph.
No.
Mike?
No.
Rosemary?
Not until I have a number. No.
Chuck?
No.
John?
No.
And I vote no. So it's unanimous that the Finance Committee does not recommend, so it's 0, 6-0, right? Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got 6, yes.
0-6-0.
Just point of clarification here. This is when we have a number and a quick conversation or even an email.
We may not recommend it then either, right?
Yeah, but we may not, but just the idea is, our goal is to make sure things run smoothly and we don't jam up any department for what they do, so, and balance the budget, that magical
Right,
balancing act. So, I just will never do a sum of,
yeah.
a policy.
So I think that's a good point. We're not, what we're saying is that we're never gonna support a P article that includes backfilling salaries in a current or previous year. But for this particular year, this particular question, the answer is no.
Yeah, it's, I
Right.
mean,
I think we're making a more generalized statement is we will not support an article that does not have a defined amount
Right,
being
Exactly.
requested.
No,
Yeah,
no
that's all.
blank checks, that's all. So, and they can come in with the reasons and whatever, and then we'll work it with what we have.
okay. All right,
and
They had given me some backup at the time, but their number was just a rolling number, but I
Right.
certainly can have them contact you and give you whatever you
yeah.
need.
Yeah, we want their.
Yeah, so if we were going to reconsider on the floor, we certainly would need the backup at that point, right?
Exactly.
I'll send
Yeah.
them an email tomorrow
Okay.
morning.
Appreciate
and
it.
yeah, I mean, where the numbers are so tight this year, and we're looking at every little dollar. That's,
Right.
that's another reason why we look at this differently.
Right. And that's really kind of why we need to have hard numbers now, is because we're looking to have this balance, right? Your Article 2, I would assume, is in balance right now, the one you provided for us today, right? So that's where we need to be, right? So depending on which path we go down, we want to make sure that we're presenting to town meeting budget scenarios that are in balance.
Unfortunately, I think they don't even know until the day of town meeting they'll have a better idea. You know what I mean? Every day they run it
Yeah,
daily,
they have to
weekly,
run, yeah.
and it changes depending on who takes time, who rolls overtime,
Right.
who is out. So it's
Yeah.
ever changing. It's
Yep.
not that they won't give us a set number; it's that that number is constantly changing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, further discussion? All right, so we'll then move, entertain a motion to reconsider Article P6.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to reconsider Article P6,
Oh, the
Rosemary.
P7 or P6?
P6.
P6
Oh,
P6.
P6,
on the new
Yep.
one.
Oh, I see.
Just did 5.
That was right.
Okay, further discussion on reconsideration. All right, I'll go to a vote, Ralph.
No.
No, this is to reconsider.
Oh, reconsider yes.
Okay,
Considers
Mike,
yes.
Rosemary?
Yes, I can't, because I voted no for this.
No, we've already got a motion and a
Oh,
second, now
yes,
you.
Yes, okay.
you vote?
Yes, I'll reconsider.
Okay, John, do you vote to reconsider? All right, and I do as well. Now we'll vote on recommendation. Now, Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No?
Rosemary,
No, as I do have no money.
Chuck,
No.
and John,
No.
and I vote no. So the recommendation is 060 for Article P6. All right, so moving on to Article P7, we have already voted this article, 710, as you can see in the new printout. Article P8, although it's not printed, we did vote 710 for that one. Didn't get printed in the new one.
Yep.
Okay, and then moving on to Article P9. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $5,205.25 from free cash to pay the following fiscal year, fiscal 23 bills for the Department of Public Works.
Motion to reconsider.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion to reconsider and a second. Any more discussion on the motion to reconsider? We're just reconsidering because we have additional information.
If you want.
On Article,
Okay,
This
On
is
P9.
That's the
Article
bill.
9. There's been a change in the requested amount.
here's the backup. Actually, sorry. Here you go, Ralph. And one for Mike.
Pass that one.
Okay, so this is the backup. John, I'm sorry, I'm gonna tell you what's in the backup. If, in the future, any backup for the meeting, if you could just email it, that way, if people are calling in.
July 17th.
Yeah,
Called this morning.
so July 17th, 23, John, this is a bill, from Environmental Partners. And it's an invoice that includes, 3 line items for project management, MCM 5 reports, and good housekeeping, in the total aggregate sum of $5,160. And it's approved and signed by the superintendent. for the DPW. So that's the backup.
Is this the DPW bill?
This is a bill for
I mean, for the
DPW.
building?
For the bill, yeah, what is
No,
it
this
for?
is for, this is,
Water.
they use
water.
environmental partners all the time to do various things for contracts. Probably related to,
Stormwater line, I think.
yeah,
Bruce has it written down probably.
Stormwater?
stormwater, art,
Article, or,
yeah.
I know they have a stormwater line.
Gotta send it to John.
Oh, okay. John, you're gonna get it by email. Mary Beth is sending it over now.
So,
Okay, great, thanks.
for this particular bill, can this be the retained earnings? Does it have to be free cash? The water retained earnings, if this is the water department essentially?
Where it's a prior year though.
Is that not allowed absolutely, or is that
Could
just
they vote? I think they could vote to
to utilize?
pay out
that
of
money?
their funds for a
Yeah.
prior year.
Maybe if they have time to vote before tomorrow night.
Okay, could we actually ask that, if they have the time to get in there? To do
Sure,
that?
I can ask.
Yeah, and then we'll just, can we hold over this? for-
We'll table it, yeah.
Table this.
Well,
Move to
just
table.
because, you know, it's
Okay.
5,000.
John, do you, we're gonna make a motion to table.
That's
We have a
catword
motion from
Alexa.
Mike. Ralph, you wanna second the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table. We'll go around the room. Ralph,
Yes.
Mike, yes, Rosemary,
Yes.
Chuck,
I had a little bit of can I discuss a little bit? I was just,
sure.
I'm not sure it's water and sewer because on Bruce has this line up in highways and parks, 014052450 stormwater management. That has been a line that's been added over the last few years, so it's showing up under highways and parks there.
Okay, could it go into chapter 90 then?
Right, and it is Bruce, and Bruce is
Yeah,
highway and
yeah,
parks.
yeah,
This
it's
is not
a
water
good-
and sewer.
No.
But plus, I think it has to come out of the free cash where it's a prior year bill.
Well, we got,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think it's water and
I'll
sewer. I
check.
remember
That's a
this.
good point,
Thank you.
yeah.
Check that, or if you do check, can you tell me the chapter? The section that
Oh, I
says
won't
that?
have, well,
Or actually, when you check and you find out, it could be a bylaw. You show me where you're getting it, that's all I wanna know. So if it pertains to anything else in the future, thank you.
All right, so,
Where we at? We were
we're
voting
at
to
a
reconsider.
vote to table, not to
Oh, to
reconsider.
table. All right, I'll
Okay,
vote to table it.
I'd like to reconsider my vote now that it has been, thank you for catching that.
but we
Jim.
could,
We can do it tomorrow night.
We just tabled it.
we'll table it
Table it
tomorrow night.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
all right,
Yeah.
all right.
So I voted to table.
Yeah,
John?
and John, are you voting to table?
Sure.
All right, then I'll vote to table too. So we'll just,
Yes.
we have reconsidered it, right? So now we're just tabling the vote on it. Is everybody clear on that?
Yep. Table tomorrow
Vote.
night.
Tuesday. Okay. Now we're into the articles. So, Article 2 is going to be, when we finish this warrant, hopefully tonight. And then we're gonna go into Article 10, is the
Correct.
first one.
Yep. Yes, that's what I got.
There is no 1 to 9.
no, they're the P
That's
articles.
the
Okay.
Yep.
So Article 10 is to vote the spending limits for fiscal 25. Animal control at 25,000, council on aging at 10, library fines and fees at 20, planning board at 75,000, police at 20,000, recreation at 75,000, and streetlight receipts at 15,000. We're gonna go for a motion first, right?
No move.
So moved by John. We get a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Discussion, Rosemary.
Yes, these seem very high, and I just want to know what they were prior to,
These are the same as they were last year.
and the year prior to that.
Nope, we had increased last year recreation and, let's see, one other one. Possibly animal control.
Then
But I
why-
don't know what it is before, what it was before that
Then
without
why do we need
research.
an article again to do the same thing we did last year?
I think we have to do
We
it
do it every year.
Every,
Every
well,
year.
actually,
Yeah.
right, I'm putting it on this year,
Just the way
but I
it is.
think that going forward, we don't even need to
Right.
really have
Unless we
this
change it.
article.
Unless there's a change.
Nope, I think some language has changed recently, but we're just leaving it this year. It's the same
Okay.
as we did last year.
So language changed in our bylaw or changed?
Nope,
The,
at the state level.
at the state level? Okay, thank you.
The article does specifically state that these are the limits for fiscal year 2025. It would not be binding on 2026
25.
afterwards, right? This is a very specific article.
Right, but the language that has changed, that you don't even need to set spending limits. They're just within their budget. Yep,
It doesn't have to go to town meeting.
right.
Okay.
But for this year, I
But for
kept
this year,
it
we
status
did.
quo.
Okay.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Wow.
I'm curious, sorry, should put my hand up first. I'm curious, there's a pretty big disparity. Recreation and everybody, planning board are considerably higher than the others. Just curious. as to
They're
what the
handling
reasoning is.
much higher fees.
Yeah,
Is that all it is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, like,
Go ahead.
And not just that for recreation, they're constantly bringing in money and putting out money.
Yeah.
So they're constantly having new activities, and so they need to, they're
Yeah,
never
it's
spending.
More of a revolving
Correct.
credit sort of thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're never spending more than they have, but they're constantly spending to have new events and activities.
yeah, and they've grown it the last few years.
Done a great
Definitely
job.
Done a great job. And,
Great job.
Is that
Michelle.
something we would have the ability to get a report, let's say the 24, both the income and the expense and the use of this might guide us if we have, this question comes up again, it'd
Yeah.
be nice to know. What,
I
you know.
think that's a good idea.
Well, this question isn't gonna come up next year. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it could become,
Well-
if we review that, if we
Well, I think
review
it's
it,
good policy for us to review it.
Well,
Well,
here's
when
the thing. I
recreation
think
comes in,
when the department comes in, when the animal
That's the time to
control
ask.
comes in, or the
Yeah.
recreation comes in, at that point,
Or before
the
that.
question could be from one of the members during the discussion with the department head is, so I understand your spending limit is 75,000. Can you give us some backup on that? Can you tell us what your receipts are? And that would be the time to ask for that. I don't think for us, for this
Yeah.
warrant
not for now.
article, yeah,
Right, I'm with you. I think that's maybe a suggestion to this committee is we should put together maybe an outline, what we would like to see, so we have a consistent delivery. So we've talked about this, there's been other things we've mentioned, such as vehicles. What are you doing with the old vehicle, that sort of thing. Maybe we should take a meeting and just discuss what we'd like to see. It would be helpful when Mary Beth sends out the information for next year about, hey, get ready for the budget planning. Here's what the finance committee is going to be looking for, 5-year plan, things like that.
right.
I think we should expand on our original, I think we had a group that worked all last summer that pulled together a plan,
Right.
and a lot of that didn't come through this year. Maybe you could help devise it, but
As long as I can do it on the river, I'm good.
yeah, you can do it on the river.
All right, so for this meeting, like I said, we gotta try to kind of work our way through this
Yep.
warrant. When
Okay.
we're making plans for next year, that's all good, but for tonight,
On the river.
No, I just wanted it's up right now. I just wanted to put it on the record really quick. Other than that, I have no other questions.
Okay.
here.
further discussion. All right, do we have a motion and a second?
Motion to accept Article 10 as read.
I'll second.
Okay. Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
Chuck,
yes.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. 600.
That's what I have, yeah.
Okay. Article 11, see if the town will vote to transfer 19,842 from 29 cents from free cash to the opioid settlement fund to fund the unspent funds received in the prior fiscal year, or take any other action relative thereto. This is proposed by the town administrator. Mary Beth, can you give us a little bit of a background on this?
Sure. So in fiscal '23, we took in 19,842.29 in revenue, and in fiscal '24 to date, we've taken in 21,556.05. So what we need to do is, and John Adams, our interim accountant, did it. He set up the opioid settlement fund. They have the revenue come in, but then he has to set up the fund for appropriations. And a new fund will have to be set up for the opioid settlements, which can be spent without further appropriation. The only step that needs to be taken now is to transfer any unspent funds already received in the prior year to that fund. So that's what this 19,000 does.
Mm-hmm.
It transfers the 23 money that went to free cash, out of free cash back to this fund. And then the 21,556 is already in there. And let's see, so you just need an article to transfer the 19,842.29 from free cash to the opioid settlement funds for the fiscal 23 year that had already closed out.
So in a sense, we're taking the money and keeping it in a specific bucket.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are there specific limitations on what that can be spent on?
Yes. I mean, it's very detailed. There's a lot of reporting that goes with it, but it is for, opioid prevention and so forth.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
I can hand
Rosemary.
Opioid prevention, I sent out the RAND analysis of that, can also be things like EpiPens and other things, and 33% of it does not have to go directly towards it. Some of it can go towards the major components of opioid, like providing housing. Somebody could offset training for your fire. You could utilize it within your town
Okay.
to offset that. This is kind of what I'm asking here. Without further appropriation, what do you mean? That who would be in control? The money still has to be approved by Finance Committee to be utilized or not.
It does say without further appropriation, and I
Yeah,
think
we
that I
did
even
this.
asked him that question. But I did, put that article anyway on there to spend it, put it on the warrant. I had already had it on there, so I just left it there.
So this article is only
But it
putting the
doesn't
money
need a
back.
town meeting vote.
It's
Right.
just putting it
I
in a
think it
bucket.
should need. I think it should need some oversight and a little.
So this particular article just puts it back in the
Correct.
bucket.
That's
This
right.
isn't spending anything.
That is correct.
Article
A
11.
bucket that can be spent without town meeting appropriation, without.
Well, if it's in
That's
free
how
cash.
it's set up
Yeah.
from the opioid settlement. That's their rules,
so-
not ours.
and then-
Yeah.
So again, we're not talking about distributing any money in Article 11. We're just putting the money together from the settlement that's already in place and adding to it with this
Right, we're
article.
putting it into this separate fund.
Right.
And so who can pull from this fund?
That's my question, because the next article is a very specific thing to pull from that fund that this is coming out of. So
Well, let's take care of this article first, and we'll get to the next one.
Right.
well, I guess they're tied here, which is, I think this is Rosemary's question, is
Can we-
how do we remove funds from the opioid settlement fund? Is that something
Right.
that goes through a town process, or
What's
how
the
does that
process?
work?
Yes, I mean, I've certainly, it depends on what department needed it or whatever, and it would go through, I guess I would sign off and send it upstairs, or the selectmen, but it doesn't need a town meeting vote, and I think the reason for that is so we can put these funds to use
Quick.
a lot faster than waiting for a year if we don't have a special town meeting. I think that was the purpose of it, but John Adams is on this, and he knows it very well.
Okay.
Can we move Article 11
Okay,
along?
hold on 1 second. Just
Well, this,
I'm going to give you a little bit of time, but
And this is
Rosemary,
important.
we have 23
so we have,
pages. to
I
go
understand. We've been utilizing this on a secondary Whitman well, which is directly goes to Whitman Hanson. That check goes off to Whitman Hanson. Correct. And so that isn't directly utilized by just Whitman citizens. And if you understand the breakout of this money, it's broken out based on how Whitman citizens were dealt with, essentially. So we're sort of diluting our support money when we do that, and that does concern me. I did try to contact Whitman Will most of today. I did research the 3 companies that they go to that are on that. All 3 companies are funded by state and federal money, and they also take insurance. So they don't require us to pay them to service. So I'm still waiting on a call back from Whitman Will, so I'd like to table some of this because I don't want it just to go out of our
Just,
town.
I'd
I'd rather give it to the police and fire.
I'm going to say this about tabling. We have one more meeting.
I get it.
That's all we have. All right? I understand the concern, right?
People who know who the people are struggling in town, I'd rather have it locally utilized.
So is it possible then that these opioid funds are going, if in fact we move to confirm Article 12, that this will go to Whitman will that be available for just Whitman residents?
So that check goes to the high school, to
Yeah.
Chris, like I can get you his name, but is sent to the high school, 600 Franklin Street, to Whitman Hanson Will, and then they decide how to spend that money.
so that's,
I couldn't
that's
find it in the
Rosemary's
high school
concern, that
Right.
some of it might be.
So is Hanson doing the same thing?
I don't know.
Right, oh, well,
But we
it
sent
it
it
is a
right
valid
to the high
point,
school.
right?
Well, I
We sent it to the high school.
looking
Find out
at
if, find out if they have
the
one for
budget-
15,000.
Yeah, but it's more than 15,000 because it's already 9,000 in the budget as well.
See, we had a lot, if you've seen the news, money is not being spent fast enough. The towns are getting the money, and you have to only spend it in certain ways, you know. I mean, certainly, how much Narcan can you buy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they could
right.
all buy more Narcan, or they could put Narcan stations in the public. There's ways.
So I did send the RAND probably about 3 weeks ago for people to review. I think you sent that back out. There are ways and there's best practices. And when we look at the RAND analysis, which is the way that we're utilizing it is not the most effective way to utilize the money. That's it. It is more effectively used within your community where the police officer, the fireman knows the family.
So, in this warrant, are there any other articles that expend money from this opioid settlement
No.
fund?
And actually, it's the first one, Article 11, that's the most important, so that we recapture
Right.
the money.
But-
You'd want to
yeah.
vote.
Right, I definitely want to separate the two, so I think it's clear that you want to keep the money in the same fund in order to best utilize it for its purpose.
You already have a fund, I thought. I thought we spoke, you said there was $30,000 in it.
No, I said that there was this 19 here, plus according to what John Adams is saying, this year to date, we've taken in an additional 21,556.05.
So there's 40,000 in there.
So he now has set up we had the revenue, so it was coming in and hitting the revenue opioid settlement. Now he has set up the appropriation. So the 21,556.05 is in there. This 19 will move to free cash, and that will give us our approximately 40,000.
Right.
Okay,
So,
approximately 40,000.
so you understand now we're taking it out of free
I
cash, so
understand
it
what
can't be
Yeah.
spent somewhere else,
Elsewhere.
right?
I understand that, so that it's not spent somewhere else. The other
I
aspect
think
of it
you're
is-
going to have a problem with Article 12, not Article 11,
Yeah.
right?
Can we vote Article 11?
Can we vote Article 11? Let's
please?
move the
Yeah.
question. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for Article 11.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, 6-0.
Okay.
Okay, so Article 12, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $15,000 from the opioid settlement funds account to the Community Service Whitman Will Program, or take any other action relative thereto. So, it does give a comment there, the opioid settlement funds received by the town are part of the Massachusetts statewide opioid settlements. These funds are to be used for the prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery of opioid addiction. So, the question that Rosemary poses is legitimate. It says that if we take this $15,000 out of the Whitman opioid settlement fund, send it to Hanson, not that that's a bad thing,
Whitman
but it
Hanson.
could be
Whitman
availed,
Hanson.
Whitman Hanson.
right, to send it to Whitman Hanson, the funds could be then utilized by either Whitman or Hanson students. Is that,
Yeah, but the funds aren't just for students, they're for entire families and the entire town. And like I said, I can't, first of all, we are funding Whitman Will. We're funding it with $9,000. Is that $9,000 in the article here, part of that 1,500?
No,
Is that free cash? What's that?
that's in Article 2.
That's article, okay, so we can pull that out of Article 2 and then say yes to this?
I didn't say that, but
I mean, that would be the same amount of, actually $500 more. No, $600 more than, is it? No, how much? Yeah, no, sorry, not 600. $6,000 more than we funded last year and still give us $900. I'm sorry, 9,000. God, I'm sorry, my brain is not
I will
connected.
correct
Yeah, the Article 2 is
She
just
does
for
this.
Whitman.
Thank you for the
Don will
direction.
decipher for me all the time. That would give us a large amount of money and still supply what at least we did last year, plus.
I just have a theoretical question.
yes, Ralph?
Since she's concerned that it might be used by Hanson,
No, I'm not.
can we send it to our own Whitman Board of Health?
That's exactly what I'm hoping to get at when we've been 10,000
this
towards
moves
the
them.
Board of Health.
there's money in there that
Yeah,
beyond this.
needles for the Board of Health, anything the fire and police need for training, all that.
I've reached out to
I'll
Okay,
reach.
so is there other interest in these funds from other departments?
I reached out to the police and fire. Actually, I didn't hear from them, but police, yes, they said there's some work, when they come upon these situations that they have to follow up and do that. And I said, you have to make sure that it falls within the guidelines. You have to be strict reporting. You have to make sure that we count that every dollar was used in accordance with the way it was set up.
Just quickly before we start the reporting part, we did not sign on. So when I look at the numbers from Westwood here, Westwood, Massachusetts had way less deaths. So I think that when I look at the graph, we're in a low reporting graph. So can you go into double check how much we have to report? Some of it is because we had past damage. Some of the opioid stuff is for the reporting. So
Well, I'm just talking about the monies that are expended from what we received.
from this particular account.
For what comes in,
Because
that's all.
because there is a reporting amount. So there's 33% that's you sort of have free range from either way.
Okay, so your concern is if we send 15,000 of this to the Whitman Will,
Whitman Hanson.
Are you going to say something that's not true? My concern is that it's not impactful to the citizens it was intended for.
okay,
And that
I'm not gonna say something
and that,
you don't already
say a fire or policeman knows who's struggling.
right.
And they can report and update and get services, and that's what this is meant for.
So what you're suggesting
Health
is that
They know
we
they're-
don't send the 15,000 to, I'm gonna have to look at it again, to
Whitman
the
Will
Community
Program.
Service Whitman Will Program.
Actually, you would do one or two things. Pull the 9,000 out of this and send that for this year, in lieu of the 9,000 from the
Oh.
Article 2.
I see what you're saying, yep, okay. Well, we haven't got to Article 2 yet, so, if in fact we did vote Article 12 in the warrant, we could then make an adjustment within Article 2.
That's another option. I want the good work to be done.
We all want the funds to
But
be
I
used
want
in
it
the best
also,
way, right?
under the recommendations, to really be impactful for a broader group.
Okay, all right, further discussion, yeah,
Go ahead.
yes,
Only
go
because
ahead.
this is a district question.
Okay,
As I
go
heard,
ahead.
the money gets 15,000 would get mailed to the Whitman Hanson Regional School District. Is there information on how that 15,000 was determined? Does the district ask for that money? I'm not aware.
Yeah, I didn't see it in their budget.
Right?
No.
Like,
It's not. It
how
doesn't
does
even
that
exist
number
in their
get
budget.
determined in a check sent to the district?
All the Whitman will money gets sent to the district. The Whitman Hanson will money. Is it Chris Sutak or something up
Okay.
there? And it goes to
That's
him.
new news to me.
I checked the vendor and checked the check.
So this
They
is
didn't
not there.
request that. The towns all
not
have
in
this
their
money, and the towns have to spend it.
Okay,
And it can
so
only be
the
spent
way,
for-
the method of spending it
It's not something that.
from the town's perspective is to
Some of it,
send it to the district.
some of it. We thought it would be
So-
great,
Some,
and they
yeah.
could do great things
I
with
think
it.
over the years, there's been, we've sent some, there's a,
I'll have to check out.
Not sure how that
revenue
number
line
comes up,
item
but-
coming in. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, do we have a motion on Article 12?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we got a motion,
To,
Second.
well, what is the motion?
the motion is to recommend
To recommend
Article
Article
12.
12.
So it could be a no, or it could be a yes, but we need a motion to start the process.
Yeah,
Right.
but how you word the motion depends on how I'm gonna vote, yes or no.
Right, okay.
That's all.
So I guess with each vote, it could be a yes or a no, right?
Yeah.
So,
If you said we make a motion to not support it,
I know.
I would vote
It-
yes. If you
it-
say a motion to support it,
I
I
know.
would say no.
I-
So, that's why I said we
I
have to
know.
know what the
It-
motion is specifically so I can give you the proper yes or no.
it's
Right.
semantics, because we are recommending all of these articles.
Okay, so we take it that all motions made tonight are to support this.
Right, so you can
Got-
say
got it.
no, and then,
Got it?
right?
That clarifies it for me.
We're really just we're not recommending the article necessarily. We're making a collective
But the
decision.
motion will be consistently the same. Thank you, that makes my life so much easier.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of does, because you don't want to lead people down a road either, right?
Have you read,
Yeah, that's right.
have you read the ballot questions
Yeah,
in
that's
this
a
state?
ballot
in the last-
question.
Well,
If you would like to not, when the moon is blue and it's
yeah, I know.
Yes means no and no means yes.
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion and a second, and, some very informative information, more than I had ever imagined. And as a result, we do have this in Kathleen was also of the opinion that this needs to have more information. So I'm hopeful that this discussion helps her as well. But I think we're ready to vote, right? Ralph,
I'm gonna abstain.
okay? Mike,
No.
Rosemary,
I'm gonna abstain.
Chuck,
Well, hearing all the discussion, I'm going to abstain as well.
John,
No.
and I'll vote no. Okay, so we have a 3, no, we have a 0, and we have a 3, and we have a 3.
Yep.
Okay. Article 13. See if the town will vote to appropriate $9,800 from free cash to engage environmental partners to provide professional engineering services to assist the town with the preparation of an emergency action plan for Harding Pond Dam. Let's say a motion.
A motion to accept?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and sec. Discussion. I think Mary Beth gave us some information about this for the emergency action plan, so I think everybody is kind of aware. Mike, you have a
Was
question?
there any, did Kathleen have any comment
Yeah,
on
so
this?
this seems like it should be a capital
Because it is going from
stabilization.
free cash, so I didn't know if she had something.
This looks like a capital stabilization. Different money amount.
No, I don't see anything in her summary about Article 13, but good point, because the numbers have to add up, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, I would say that, emergency action plan is something that, would be,
We can
Pretty much in-
consider if it,
we don't want anybody getting hurt.
Nope.
Okay, so, we have a motion,
Yeah.
and we have a second.
Yes.
Vote Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes?
Rosemary,
yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. 6-0. Article 14. See if the town will vote to appropriate from available cemetery funds a sum of $16,500 to purchase and equip a new lawn mowing tractor or take any other action relative thereto.
So moved?
We have a motion
And second?
and a second. Discussion about Article 14. Rosemary.
How much is in the cemetery fund?
The High Street Cemetery Fund has $7,035.92 as of April 16th, and the Mount Zion Cemetery has $13,780.84.
So that's going to pretty much wipe them out.
Yeah, and I think Bruce said that he had spoken to you and given you backup for any of the article. I told him to
Yeah.
come to a meeting, and he said that
Yeah.
he emailed you. Okay.
Okay, so we do have the information about it. Further discussion? Chuck.
And cemetery funds are probably limited, the use of are limited for
Right.
which
Care.
they care of cemetery. And we
So
do
this
know, we
one-
did one a couple of years ago.
We did a lawnmower a couple of years
Yeah,
ago
we
that
did.
wasn't cemetery, but we're going to use it in a cemetery.
No, I think,
I think we use cemetery funds,
yeah,
at least partially.
So
I think there was a couple of years ago.
We asked him what happened to that.
No, and at our last meeting, we were looking for a little follow-up on what about, how long ago was the other one? So we,
Yep.
apparently, I guess we didn't get that information,
Yeah.
so.
It was a little unclear, yeah.
Capital, what's the capital cutoff?
20,000.
20,000. So this falls under capital, that's why there's no recommendation from capital committee. Okay.
Could we motion table?
Do we need a lawnmower?
Well,
If we need a lawnmower.
we
need a
wouldn't have it
lawnmower.
on the warrant if
We
the,
didn't need it, okay.
if the DPW, and the Board of Public Works Commissioners didn't think we did, then we probably wouldn't see it yet, so. So, we have a motion and a second. Are we ready to move to vote? Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes,
and John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. 600. Article 15.
I'm coming back to this one if it doesn't.
15, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $7,000 for free cash to purchase and install a chain link fence in the area of the Holbert's Pond Dam or take any other action relative thereto. You think that's specific enough? Yeah, I guess so. In the area
I think
of.
he has
there's a little more
comment
follow-up,
there.
yeah, on the next
I have
page.
this in the area of,
The fence is to enhance public safety at the dam to prevent anyone from falling into the outflow. Yeah, we talked about this
Yeah,
at
we
length.
did, we did, yes.
Do we have a motion?
Motion,
Do you have a second? We have a motion and a second. Further discussion on Article 15. Okay, Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes?
Rosemary,
Hold on, how much was the total?
7,000.
7,000. Is that a yes?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes.
I just spent money, I don't like
Yes,
that.
and John?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That's 5 7/8 with Rosemary's.
Begrudging,
That was begrudging.
I know, and it's such a small amount.
600. Well, the small amounts add up.
They do.
Article 16. See if the town vote to appropriate $323,087.67 in available Chapter 90 funds. Such funds to be expended by the Department of Public Works in accordance with the guidelines and requirements of the Massachusetts Highway Department, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. Discussion.
What-
Chapter 90 funds.
Chapter
We're talking
90.
about
And,
expending.
and so how are they expending it? This is kind of like guidelines, okay.
Well,
They're-
this
they're
is
very
what we
broad
do every year. This is for all the street work.
Yeah, but then we have another whole thing for street work too. I guess it's 46.
Yeah, it's a little different though.
Yeah.
All right, further discussion on Article 16? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes?
Rosemary,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yep.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. 600. Article 17. See if the town will vote to appropriate $123,786 from Article P7 of the May 2020 fiscal 21 annual town meeting, reserved for appropriation for purchase ambulance account, to purchase a new set of turnout gear for all members of the fire department, or take any other action relative thereto. So the comment is about the secondary set of gear, and the standard requires that anything over 10 years old be replaced. Motion.
So moved.
John
Sorry, John.
and Chuck, a motion in a second. Very good. Discussion on Article 17.
I'm not a fan of this way of funding. We know that we need this gear on an ongoing basis. I would prefer for us to consider replacing 20% of the gear each year so that we have a 5-year rolling over of this and it fits into our ability to plan. My concern is long-term. If we do not have the money sitting there, this is a pretty considerable amount to add every, X many years for us.
So this is the
have a
ambulance
s-
account.
Yeah, and I have the similar thing I talked about with the chief of police as well, about some of the things there. We have to really account for not only the people doing the job, but like we do the vehicles, the gear that it requires, and I think we should be a little more.
So this is a charge for the
Spread
capital
that
committee. Yeah, for sure.
So-
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that it does. It could, but
You mean like start putting away a little bit each year?
that's what I'm saying. Is if you do
dedicated towards that, if
20%, right,
Yeah.
over a 5-year period, every 5 years you get, or whatever that period is, but it allows us as a town to take a smaller hit on a regular basis
Right.
rather than a big hit.
So that's a good plan in the future, but just realize that.
Ambulance fund, right? So
Can
I
finish my
understand.
comment?
It's reoccurring from their ambulance. But
Rosemary, can I finish my comment and then you can talk? I just was going to say that the town used ARPA funds to purchase an ambulance, which kind of freed up a significant amount of money for
did.
us. That's why the appropriation is coming
I'm
from
fine
that.
with, what I'm saying is I'm fine with this use of it,
Future
but I want
years.
us to again think
Yep.
further ahead. What if that fund is not there in the future? This is a big chunk to go
Yep.
after.
Yep. Go ahead, Rosemary.
the town did not purchase, was not freed up. If anything that was in recurring plans for opera didn't happen, so they did have this, but this, so, or we'd have to return that ARPA fund because it was for non-planned monies. All ARPA wasn't supposed to be used. If you bought something with ARPA, like an ambulance, but, I mean, part of that ambulance fund is to handle things that you would need on the ambulance.
It was in the recommendation when we
Yeah.
were looking, the budget override committee specifically recommended that the that particular fund, the reserve for purchase ambulance account, was very specifically said to purchase
That
an
was good.
ambulance every specific amount of years and to purchase turnout gear.
That's correct.
Right?
And it's purchased the
So-
turnout gear.
so there was-
what I just wanted to correct that, just so that there was no misnomer, and we don't, that we did keep in line with our normal recommendations for purchasing ambulance, and the additional ambulance was purchased for COVID purposes.
Right, yep, no doubt about it, yeah, we did the right
We
thing.
should have.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? Do you guys encourage them to write grants for that kind of stuff?
all the time,
Yes,
yeah.
it's part of the.
Because they're supposed to have two sets of turnout gear.
Right, which they do,
Yeah, and they do have the grant. We missed it by a little bit last year.
but they're definitely in the queue for that.
So part of the meetings that we had last year for finance was tell us what grants you have gone for. So we encourage every department to write the grant.
Yeah, so,
But thank you for bringing that. because
just so you realize too, that the finance committee does not write policy, right? We make
No.
recommendations,
we ask.
For the
and
Board of
that's-
Selectmen
that's
to
we do.
adopt
But
that.
that is something,
okay,
Which is why moving to a yearly purchase, you would do a yearly grant to go along with that and potentially offset that even more.
Right.
If you do it every 5 years, it's one grant.
right,
And you might, if you miss it, it's 4 years of missed funds.
thank you for bringing that.
okay.
Yes.
Very good, thank you,
Thank you
good
very
question. All right, so we have a motion and a second for this article. Further questions? Okay, we'll move to a vote. Ralph?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, Article 18, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $1,500 from free cash to pay general code to update and maintain the town's general and zoning bylaws, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
John seconds. Okay, discussion. Article 18. Okay, seeing none. We'll call for a vote. Ralph?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, Article 19, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $47,000 from free cash to fund fire panel replacement upgrades or take any other action relative thereto. Article 19.
So moved.
That's the
Second.
funding source.
Is this for, this is a funding source thing.
But we have to vote on what's written.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a little heads up
So
there.
here's where I think Kathleen
Well,
identified this
Right,
as one
so
of
you're right, thank you for that. So the articles are off to the side here, I'm sorry, I didn't notice. So Article 19, 20, 24, 25, and 26 are ones that we want to consider, capital stabilization for the
The funding source.
funding source.
Can we?
So here's what we're gonna have to do, is we're gonna have to draft an amendment, right?
Correct.
Because
I asked-
our recommendations are not going to be printed in the warrant. You checked with.
I checked with town council,
no
you
problem.
cannot change the funding source, you're correct.
So the only way we're gonna be able to change the funding source is to do an amendment on town hall floor,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so do we vote not to recommend? I would say,
Yes.
right?
And then,
As a matter of semantics.
Yeah.
We should be unanimously voting not to accept the article because we're going to.
amend.
Amanda.
Well then
Like
again,
that.
we are really, we're really recommending the article.
No, we're recommending the amendment, not the article.
Okay, good point.
Yes.
Okay.
We're recommending the amounts, and the purpose of those amounts,
You can explain that.
where we shift is
Yes.
in how we're going to fund it.
All right, so I'm going to circle ones that we need to, and these amendments have to be written in advance.
Are you looking at me?
No.
You've seen how I write.
Okay, we got a motion to amend one town hall floor, that's all. Okay, so I'm gonna mark those, I guess, with a blue highlighter, just so I know. All right, so we, do you have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Session.
That's a second.
Okay, that was a good second.
Solid second.
So again, we're gonna, if we're gonna motion to amend, we're gonna motion to not accept the article, right?
Correct.
Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No.
Nope.
Rosemary, Chuck,
No.
John,
No.
060.
Can I ask a question? Would we could just type out a separate section and we'll do a vote? It's technically not a warrant, but on our amended amounts, we could vote so that you could stand up right before town meeting, do a quick vote on our amendments.
No, they have to be amended on town hall floor.
That's what I'm saying. We could. Okay.
Yeah, there's no other way to amend an article. It just has to be a written, a motion to amend, and
Right.
from
You can
there.
scribble it on
But
a
I
piece.
think,
Article.
but I think it's going to be very well articulated to town meeting what we're doing before we do it, right? So,
Okay.
we'll have to have like a summary, like Kathleen has prepared here to say, just, in order for us not to support this override, there are certain articles that'll need to be amended to the funding source.
Can you send me that
Sure.
email?
Yep.
So I can digest it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see. I don't have my mouse.
You have to do it now.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can, that'll have Kath.
All right, remind me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all set with 19. So Article 20 is another one. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $68,140 from free cash to purchase and equip a 2024 Chevy Tahoe four-wheel drive SSV administrative police cruiser or take any other action relative thereto. Motion.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
This was part of the capital project recommendations, correct?
This is Article 20, wanted to change the funding source from free cash to capital stabilization. So again, we're saying that this, this article that was supported by the capital committee is still supported by the finance committee, but the funding source is something that needs to change in order for us to head down the direction that we embarked on at the beginning. So we have a motion and a second, so we're not going to support this, Ralph.
No.
Mike?
Yeah.
We're supporting it, but we're not supporting it with free cash.
I'm not sure I support it in either way, but
Okay.
it's a no right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Rosemary?
It's yes for me because it's in line with what our original capital, not Madden, but Collins report said.
We're looking to change the funding
Oh,
source.
God, you're right. No, I don't.
Okay, it's a no.
Confused me.
It's a no, no, no.
No.
John?
No.
And it's a no. So it's an 060.
It's yes later, but no now.
Right. It's a yes later, but a no now. That's correct. Amend.
Just for the note, I have other questions. We moved a little quick on the vote. I do have questions. I'll bring it up when we get to Article 25 because they're related articles.
Okay?
Oh.
All right, so we're going to move to Article 21, which isn't something that needs to be amended. The next article that needs to be amended, just for your information, is Article 24. So
Right.
I'll just put a little blue dot there, and we'll go back to Article 21. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $21,000 for free cash to fund the pool house pump room upgrades or take any other action relative thereto.
Make a motion to accept that?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion about that. The capital committee also recommended this particular article. Discussion.
Yeah, I guess I remember we had the discussion here when you made the presentation to us. My question still is sitting there, which is we don't have a good report on income versus expense. What's the ROI on this, return on investment for this? We're spending this. Are we making this much money back in the use of the pool, or are we not? There was kind of an ambiguous answer about that it costs us more to run the pool than it does that we actually receive an income. I'd like to see more of that again for next year. I recognize we need it now, but I am concerned when we're expending money that we don't know that we're
So that,
getting value for.
yeah, valid point. I mean, you brought that up when we were talking about the spending limits for the revolving accounts.
Yep,
So
sorry.
it's a more request for more accounting, right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
And I think we could just make that clear, right, when we schedule the meeting with the department heads. Let's make the schedule, right, when you're sending the email to invite the person, the liaison should be more specific about what the committee is looking for in advance of the meeting. And by electronic submission, well before the meeting, so it's a point well taken. It's something we need to do. Rosemary.
Just a quick question here. Was this the original amount for this particular article when they made the request? They had 3 different things put on there.
They did, and then the capital committee prioritized all of the articles, so I split that because the 3 that were in that one article for Todd might have been 3, 6, and 8. So I put these in order of on the warrant as
So
the capital
this was
voted them.
Pool house pump and fence originally.
Yeah, so you see 22 is the ground condenser and 23 is the, oh, no, that doesn't have anything to do with it.
That has nothing to do with that one.
Yep.
So essentially, I think a private citizen fixed the fence.
The fence, yeah.
Recently. So is this the same price?
I don't know that the repair was a permanent repair.
Yeah,
It looked pretty brutal to me when I went by it in my walk.
Oh, I mean, I think we should be saying this in public meeting because it was a kind thing to
it
do.
was.
Yeah, it was a kind thing to do, yeah, yeah.
Solved the short term, but
Yeah.
Richard, it may not be a long-term
Okay.
resolution.
I think I want information on that one, so I'm gonna abstain from the vote.
Okay, so do we have a motion on Article 21?
Yeah, motion,
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion about 21,000 for the pool house pump room? Seeing none? Ralph?
Yes.
Mike?
yes.
Rosemary?
Abstain because I don't.
Okay,
know if
Chuck?
we've taken-
yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So 5-0, 1 Rosemary. Okay, 22. To see if the town will vote to appropriate 14,000 for free cash to fund a ground condenser replacement or take any other action relative thereto.
Is this a
Think
Kathy
that should
article?
have more information.
That was one of, Todd's.
Where is it?
This is one that you've seen.
Where does it go?
There was an article with 3 originally.
So is it for
that got broken out.
So it's for the pool house? See, I
Did
think
you get backup from him on that?
if you broke it into 3,
It's a facilities director request.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I think it does have to do with the pool, but now that it's broken out, maybe there should be some reference on where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could,
I can get you
No,
that
it
for
does.
tomorrow night.
You can't say capital committee.
I'm just thinking for,
Right.
I'm surprised
Well,
that,
he'll speak on it on the
Yeah.
floor, so there'll be no confusion.
I'm just
there.
surprised town council let that go, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what, yeah.
I'm gonna have a word with them.
An expensive word.
No, don't worry, I won't.
Discount.
All right, so is the feeling that we wanna, I hate to table any of these articles, I really do, just because of the time frame.
I can get you an answer in 2 seconds.
All right,
Why don't
Take him
why
away
don't we,
from the
why don't we
Bruins
just
game.
quickly table it?
we'll
go to-
table it, yeah.
And let's go to Article 23. To see if the, let's see where we are. Okay, so 23. To see if the town will vote to appropriate 30,000 from free cash to purchase new computers for town hall, library, police, and the fire department, or take any other action relative thereto. So, Kathleen did take exception to this particular article and is not in favor of supporting it, just from the discussion that she's had to date, just as a refresher, I guess. The concern was that this original article was for computers for the library that were deemed to be archaic, and technology did come present information about the need. They did talk about it at Capitol at length, but I guess Kathleen really wanted to know how many computers are going into the library and how many computers are going elsewhere and where. And the technology director was pretty direct, and I can actually go and read his email.
He sent an email, I was gonna say
did.
to
Right.
you.
Why
Yeah.
don't I read that just so I did forward it to the committee.
Yeah.
Abstain on
Does
this.
everybody remember the discussion?
It is on April 16th, it went out from Josh.
Okay.
You forwarded it, Tuesday, April 16th, same day.
Big play voice.
April 16th.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a very long
Okay,
email.
so-
I
oh.
suggest you excerpt just to the relevant question about that.
Okay, so we have never provided exact locations. Instead, we have provided building locations, which is exactly what I provided on the article. Does he?
Town hall, library, police, and fire department.
Because as the world turns, unfortunately, we can't predict the future. I would hope that the finance committee understand the town hired professionals, department heads, for the positions they are in, and therefore leave it up to the department heads to make the necessary decisions in relation to the operation of the departments. I believe I mentioned the statement every time at the end of my meeting with the finance committee every year. If anyone has any questions in relation to technology, please don't hesitate to reach out. But for some reason, I very rarely hear from the finance committee. Okay. I applied for a grant 2 years ago that we received so we could replace many general office computers with thin clients to secure and centralize resources. but we never replaced department head computers in the offices, which is where some of the computers we are requesting this year will be installed. We will be installing several of the computers at the library as well. But again, we are not associating a certain number of computers to specific location. So he goes on to say that he really should have asked for 60 computers, but he realizes that budgets are tight. The standard industry refresh cycle is 5 years, and we try to do what we can with what we have and have been very successful in applying for and receiving grant funding for several different projects. So that's more or less this email from Josh. Thank you, John. So, discussion from Josh's interpretation of the question about where these computers are going. Anybody? Michael?
Not so much about where, but he states right there, and I've asked this question, we've moved to thin clients. Now I know we have moved to thin clients at some places, which for those who aren't aware is effectively a web-based, rather than a desktop, a server that you're used to, right? A big clunky machine sitting on your desktop. All of the services are run on central computers in our IT data center at that point. Much cheaper to deal with, also much more secure. I'm glad to see that he's doing it. My question is, why are we not doing that now? Why did we go into a technology that is industry standard for the last 30 years, and now we're retreating back to the 1980s by putting hardware on people's desks at a much more expensive rate to go? It seems incongruous that we took a step forward, now we're taking a step back.
So this 30,305, is this the step back?
It's a step back to me. If anytime we're buying hardware computers, laptops or desktops to put there, when we have the capability to effectively let you go through a cheaper thin, what they call a thin client, and use a virtual machine access to it, we could save a lot of money, but also simplify the management of our infrastructure.
Okay. Does anybody know?
Sorry, I'm getting technical here.
No, that's all right.
Get the guy with the mask.
No, we appreciate it.
Yeah, no.
Does anybody know where this computer request from the Capital Committee fell in the list of priority?
Yes, I do. I can tell you that.
That would be helpful to see if it's somewhere at the bottom of where we're going to end up with.
So what article is that?
23.
23. 23 is 5th
In order of
how many?
importance.
in order of importance out of 10.
Hold on 1 second. This was the library one that was 23.
Well, this was a whole bunch of others,
I
yeah.
know, but the original one went in as the library, and
Oh,
then added ones. And not that to say that one wasn't as important, but I briefly heard what you're saying coming in, and I don't want to, buy high and lose low. You know what I mean? Like if we were about to do something different.
Okay.
So
Further discussion on Article 23. So I'm just wanting to.
Sure, these are needed computers.
Well, they said they're replacing ones from
Right.
2011.
That's what
I don't
they're
think
needed.
I'd feel bad about holding up the library to move into the 21st century because we didn't know where the other ones were going. And to Josh's point, if department heads are asking for new computers, there's a pretty good chance that they're not just looking for the newest toy, right? That there's a need, right?
Yeah, and just so we're clear, I'm not arguing with the need. I'm arguing with the
The
technology decision that we're going with. We should be going with something that allows for all the things he mentioned in his letter, which we've talked about here.
do you contradict that?
The library, for example, you would buy a computer that you would sit at, right? Just like most people probably have at home. But for department leads and other things like that, anywhere here, that we should not be using those. We should be using the thin clients that he's talked about.
So did you get an opportunity to go sit with Josh to talk about?
I have not.
No. So, as the liaison to the finance committee, I find it disheartening that the technology facilities has not made time to talk with our liaison.
We talked about it a couple of times. We talked about getting time together, which has not happened yet. So.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So I have a
So
question
I
for
think-
Mike. What would be the next level of technology? Instead of a laptop, it'd be something like a tablet or maybe an app on a smartphone.
So what it comes down to is the thing that you're using, the keyboard and everything else, right? Traditionally, they have storage, hard drives and things like that in it. They've got a computer, memory and all that stuff. I don't need to have those parts of the expensive part of any computer, right? I can have a much less of the memory, the CPU, the storage, because it's all run on a big machine someplace back there, and it's shared. When you're not using it, Mary Beth could. When the two of you aren't, I could. We maybe at some point during the day, 3 people are using it. It might be a little slower, potentially, right? But the fact is, that computer's sitting on your desk, probably unused 90% of the time. What you do is you're able to now share the resources and not have to buy that finite amount of resources for each person and only get 80 or 90% of the time sitting there doing nothing. It's shared resource.
All right. So we know where we need to go, I guess.
Yeah.
And so is this part of the the capital at $30,000? Is this part of the capital that's going to be needed to balance the budget for no override?
I think it was, but I think also it's not, if what Mike's describing, what's been showing, these aren't part of a long-term plan. These are like patchwork computers, essentially.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the computers only have a certain life anyway. It's
Yeah.
not like they have long-term,
Yeah,
You know,
we
right?
managed to get them,
Unless they're thin clients.
unless it.
unless they think plans, but this is it, we're managed to get
Well, they have no access to the
2011.
internet. So that's where they kick all the viruses.
All right. Are we ready to move then on this
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, sorry to
Does that
take
fall?
on this one.
Article 23. The only reference to I support capital articles 19 through 26, excluding Article 23. I want more information on where the 30 computers are going.
Right, so that she's not worried about the number itself.
However, I want to change the funding source from free cash to capital stabilization for the following articles.
Right.
No,
Okay.
So, as a compromise, we could vote to change the funding source and satisfy the dollar figure, I guess, that we need. At this $30,303, if it's in free cash and not in capital stabilization, I don't think her Article 2 is going to work, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so.
If she's not, if in her text here she's not supporting that Article 23, then she would then, if we change the funding source, it would be the same, right?
It's also very, very common that you use capital. Your CapEx is what's used for computer purchases in almost every business I've ever been in. So
Okay, so
It's not
here's the
obvious.
thing then. If you're not in support of this article, then you could vote no because it would have to be amended to change the funding source anyway. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, like the others, I just wasn't sure, like if that was one of the ones she spelled out.
No, it's not in this list.
Yeah.
But she does spell it out individually
For short-term patch.
because she says excluding Article 23. So she's supporting all the other articles except for that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that's her
Rick?
personal reason.
Yeah.
Right. John, go ahead.
I would say no because we want to change the funding source. I honestly think I initially was negative about it, but I would say yes. If we were replacing 2011 computers, it isn't just the junk that sits on the desk. You run into problems with security software, regular programs, whatever it might happen to be. You get a computer that old, you can't upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, it wasn't all 2011, it was, I think just the library was 2011.
Right. Yep, so that's a good point, John, because he does actually spell that out in his comment. They're no longer supported by the manufacturer. So, all right, are we ready to move then? I'm also with you, John. I do think we should be replacing the computers at the library. So I would be for this article with a new funding source. But as a matter of course for this process, we need to vote no in order to change the funding source. Is that correct?
Right,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, we ready to move then?
Yep.
Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No?
Rosemary,
No.
Chuck,
No.
John.
No,
Okay, and I vote no. So it's 060. And then funding amendment. Okay, Article 24. So Article 24 is also capital stabilization. So let me just review 24, 25, and 26 are all, we'd be changing the funding source for those articles. So we think we can move pretty quickly through them, right?
Since we need new numbers for capital stabilization, because if you change, if this 23 wasn't part of the funding plan, then our amounts are gonna change, because you've just added
Right.
30,
Well,
okay.
we just gotta make it clear to Kathleen that she's gotta adjust the Article 2 accordingly, right?
Oh,
Wouldn't that be what you did if you
Spending.
were doing this exercise? Or you're not
I'm
helping us?
letting you guys know.
Oh.
Not that I'm not helping you, it's
Here we
just that
go.
I don't know where you're changing funding sources to.
No, we're telling you.
Are they all capital? You just said funding sources on the
Yes.
next four.
Capital
Every-
stabilization, all of them.
Everyone you change is capital stabilization?
Yes.
Or
Okay.
I'm good
Yeah.
at, this is 30.
And I think that
For
the
a total
Article
of
23 wasn't
$288,140.
originally on Kathleen's list, I
Including
don't
that
think,
30?
but
We do wanna.
So that the 30 is,
On
right,
top of that.
on top of that,
on top of that.
right,
Think so.
So these are all
So
capital.
just,
yes.
Okay. Yeah,
19,
no, I'm just trying to.
19, 20,
See what
24, 25, and 26. Yeah. So again, this process, just so you know, would be a lot easier if Kathleen was here. So
That's okay.
gonna-
That's
We
you
got it.
follow it.
It's, this is the last three, so
Yeah.
actually, that.
Okay.
It's,
Fine.
So 24 is 24, 25, and 26. I think we can move quickly, right? I'll take a motion on 24.
moved.
Second.
so moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Okay, we'll move to a vote. Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No.
Rosemary,
No, until we change.
Funding.
Chuck,
no.
John,
No,
and I vote no. Okay. 25. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $75,000 from free cash to purchase and equip a new four-wheel drive vehicle or take any other action relative thereto. This is proposed by the fire chief. So again, we're looking to amend to change free cash to capital stabilization. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, okay? Discussion?
So here's my same comments that I had on the previous article, which was with the police vehicle. Four-wheel drive, I have to, how much do we use a four-wheel drive?
In the winter, usually pretty a lot. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the other thing is, where do we do with the old vehicles? Where do
What's
they
the
go?
procurement? What's the
Right.
procurement?
I don't know what the, yeah, I don't, some towns will take those vehicles and put them in a less used space, or whatever.
Rosemary, Mary Beth, do you want to talk about what we have in place now for a vehicle?
Is this shifting to
List-
another point, or
Yes.
is it being procured?
So this vehicle was the commander's vehicle, the deputy fire chief's vehicle that has over 90,000 miles on it. So the capital committee had discussed if we're purchasing a new one, the new one would go to the chief. The chief's vehicle that's fairly new will go down to the deputy chief, and the deputy chief's will go to the building inspector. He had wanted a vehicle as well. They couldn't do everything, so they would just shift that over to him. I think his is a 2011. This will be a 2015. Still fairly old, but newer than what he has. And so that was the thinking on that. It's
That's
not
the
to
perfect scenario.
replace the fire chief.
That's what I was looking at.
This used to be the case too.
The trickle down.
Yeah,
Well,
Right.
as I said, it's normal,
Right.
but, obviously if it's not,
right.
what are we doing with it?
No, I remember Bob
Okay, so
Curran
then-
taking on an
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
Crown Vic from
Yeah,
the
yep.
police
I remember
department a long
Yep.
time ago.
So then,
Missing
when
a
we
couple
have this
hubcaps.
so the last duck out, the one left behind, is the building inspectors. Is that the one that we're sort of saying nobody wants, right? That's over. So what is the procurement on?
You mean the surplus?
Yeah, the surplus. the municipal amount that we'll get for that?
Depends. You never know what you're going to get.
So-
They would have to see what they think it's worth.
Right.
And even the last one they took the ACO van. I mean, they didn't think they were going to get anything for that, and they got like $6,000.
I was just saying, it's going to be pretty small.
Yeah.
Right, but they
Right.
thought they were going to get $1,000, $500, and it just got
No, metal's
it
worth
up.
a lot right now.
So just want to talk a little bit about the assistant town administrator now has a matrix that she coordinates for
Oh, the
town
fleet
people.
schedule.
Fleet
And
schedule.
that's something when Frank was, he did everything he could just to keep us afloat when he came back. But
The fleet schedule took a little.
the grants, fleet schedule,
You gotta-
procurement,
you gotta
all
pick and
that
choose.
stuff.
Yeah.
There's no way you can do it all. So, but anyway, yes, Kathy has done that, brought that up to speed, checked it with the Maya on their records, checked to make sure that, all the registrations, plates, everything new, anything going for surplus has come off, any new purchase vehicles have come on.
So I think
So-
we're moving in the right direction.
We are moving.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work to get there and check with everybody.
Okay.
We have an accounting for every
Thank you.
vehicle we have
Yep.
now.
That's fleet schedule.
That's
Yep.
what my concern was. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you. All right. So Article 26. Again, we have a motion and a second, and we're looking to change the funding source. So we're ready to vote.
This is
Ralph.
25 right now.
Sorry, 25. Sorry.
25.
Ralph,
No.
No.
Mike, Rosemary,
No,
Chuck,
No.
John,
No,
and I vote no. Okay. 26 would be the final of the ones that we need to change the funding source for. See if the town will vote to appropriate $38,000 from free cash to fund heating circulator pumps. Where's that one?
Yeah.
Where are they going?
Again, that's Todd's. I wonder
That's Todd.
Oh.
Still the-
Did he answer the question on 22?
At Town Hall, old police station network room for the ground condenser.
ground
Oh.
condenser.
So
Okay,
we really you should put something in there about
Brown.
town hall.
and change the warrant
I
again.
thought it was town.
I'm just thinking.
That came from you.
You have
Everyone hear
witnesses. Oh, it's
Well,
recorded.
I'm just.
Yes,
I'm
again,
just
it's
surprised.
going to the selectmen tomorrow. It's minor changes, not
Right.
going out, so we're
I
on,
just think-
what article's that?
22.
22 is the ground
22
condenser.
is
at
the
Town
ground
Hall.
condenser at town hall.
Town Hall.
Okay, and then,
Wording.
you have a question?
I am.
You're leaving? Okay,
The
thank
recorder-
you.
The recorder is on, yeah?
Very good. Thank you very much for
Thank
staying
you
as long as you
very
did.
much.
I know you're coming from a
Yeah.
meeting.
No, these copies right here are the rest of what Kathleen had on her tabs.
Oh,
Okay,
so
good.
Wow.
So when you guys want them, take them on your way.
we've got a lot of homework to do. Whew. Okay, thank you very much.
Information. Okay, good luck, everyone have a good week.
Thanks again.
We'll pick that up when I get back on Thursday.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
Safe travels.
thank you.
Okay, so now the heating circulator pumps?
Heating
Yeah,
circulator.
Article 26.
So while she's looking that up, we'll entertain a motion for Article 22.
22 or 26?
22, we're going back to 22. We tabled it because we were waiting for the location on the ground condenser,
Okay.
and we've heard back from Todd that that's at Town Hall.
And I will,
Is that one of Kathy's or not?
No.
no.
It's under.
Our motion, Article 22 to accept.
I'll second.
No, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion about 14,000 from free cash for the ground condenser at Town Hall.
Rick,
Yes,
this is John.
John.
I just have one comment, and I don't want to dwell on it. It's just that everything that we have that is a capital expense, we are hamstrung to understand what's going on because it goes to the capital committee, and we don't know what's coming up.
Well, John, let me just say this. We have a liaison to the capital committee. She's just not here tonight. We would have had all these answered immediately from Kathleen. She does a great job bringing all the information back to the committee, right? So I agree that we used to be hamstrung. We used to have a pretty good void in getting information back from the capital committee. But I think we get a regular update. I mean, it's a line item on our standing agenda, right, for the capital committee.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute, let me John finish. Go ahead.
I think I think it's also fair to say that most of the reports that she made were her frustration in getting information out of the Capital Committee.
Okay, that's valid, yep. So, well, we can't really solve that with Article 22, can we?
Hold it.
Go, Rosemary.
No. I just wanted to make that comment.
Oh,
Let it sit there and not get into a debate about it.
okay, I'm all for that. Improved communication is one of my tenets, so.
Not a debate, just a statement. Capital Committee, although we still have to build things and do things, even if the road's not smooth and bumpy, we have this Capital Committee and we have a Finance Committee person on this Capital Committee so that they can do all that dirty work and the dig in. Because it's a lot of work
Right.
to maintain that plan.
Yep,
And
all
we're
right.
in the infant stages, of course, but
So your comments well taken, and Rosemary, yours is as well. Now I will entertain a vote on Article 22. We have a motion and a second now. Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Sean.
We're
This is the $14,000 for.
taking it, the funding source is not an issue.
No,
No, this one.
that is correct.
Okay, yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. 060.
No.
600.
Oh, sorry,
60.
sorry.
600.
600. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Now we're
Okay.
skipping back down to Article 26. Did you get any info on the?
No, 27.
No, not on the circulator pumps.
We don't have information on where the circulator pumps are.
But how about when Capital Committee came and presented all their stuff?
We still had questions. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
And we needed follow-up.
Oh,
yeah.
you didn't get all of
No.
them? Okay. I was gonna say you should have this from their meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's just the time frame is bad.
Yeah.
We got to get with the capital committee earlier on in the process. They have to make their prioritized list sooner, right? Which, it's a common problem.
Yep.
Right. But we'll get there. It's only 2024. So Article 26 we're talking about now, and this is the final one that the funding source needs to be amended on town hall floor. So the article is to see if the town will vote to appropriate $38,000 from free cash to fund heating circulator pumps at some location to be determined in the future. It will be printed in the warrant, I'm sure. So this again is going to have to be amended on town hall floor to change the funding source.
This
So
is
we-
one you wanted to change, right?
Yep.
This is the last one.
So do we have a motion?
Motion.
Yep, just a second.
We have a motion and a second, and we're going to go around for a vote to change the funding source. Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No.
Rosemary,
No.
Chuck,
No.
John,
No.
and I'm a no. 060. Okay, so that's the last. Oh, Article 37. Okay, so just keep in mind the next article that we need to go back to Kathleen's summary is Article 37. So if you want to make a little.
Yeah.
What,
Make a
are we
little-
going to Article 75, 27?
We're going to.
We are, yeah.
We are. I'm
was
just
giving
saying,
me- giving
just
us
so
a
we
heads
don't
up.
speed by Article 37.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
got you right.
Okay.
10 more articles before we.
So Article 27, to see if the town vote to appropriate $75,000 from free cash for asphalt signage and engineering services for any expenses directly related to road repair or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion. Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Discussion on Article 27. None. Yes.
Just a quick, actually, compliment. This amount is our percentage. We're starting to get that up to 90, 40, 60 kind of percentage that we're supposed to have. So this is a reasonable amount.
Let the record reflect that Rosemary has a compliment. Do you want to direct it to anybody in particular? Or?
To give
Let's give it to Mary Beth.
the thumbs up on this
All right.
one. So he's
Okay.
doing the formula. He's working it.
Formulas are working. All right, so we have a motion and a second, and we're ready for a vote. Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. 6-0-0. Article 28.
Darn it.
To see if the town will vote to appropriate $75,000 from free cash for the repair or replacement of existing sidewalks and/or for the cost of materials or engineering services needed to complete such work or take any other action relative thereto. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion on Article 28. Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Ralph?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yeah.
Chuck?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. 600.
Presentation.
Article 29. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $58,722.95 from free cash to purchase and install a cooled chiller compressor at the Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, including any and all related costs thereto, or take any other action in relation thereto. And this is proposed by the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, and the Capital Committee voted to recommend passing over at town meeting due to insufficient information. I don't know about pass over, but I don't know if they can vote to pass over. I think,
They can motion to pass over, sure.
but then don't you have to motion on town hall floor to pass
Yes,
over?
and that's what
They
they
should
want
be-
to do.
But they should just be
Abstain.
voting against, right? In my
I
mind.
would abstain. I would abstain because it's,
Well,
we could abstain.
we're not, here's the thing, that the
They're passing,
Capital Committee is not recommending all of the school articles. So I
Okay.
think
but not,
our recommendation should reflect that,
okay.
right?
They voted to pass over, which is similar to abstain. They could, are you, okay. I see what you're saying.
They should have voted no.
They didn't vote either way. They said pass
Yeah.
it over in town meeting, which is effectively saying no, but they do
Okay,
not have a.
I'm gonna abstain.
Is it a
because
nice
the
way of
passover
saying?
is abstain, and it's since gonna be passed over anyway.
Yes, Mary Beth.
So it's all of the school articles.
Right.
They did not give the backup
Yeah,
for it.
right.
Kathleen, I think, is adamant about that. I've left them on there. The money is, allocated for those. It looks like we may have a special town meeting. Kathleen originally thought that the schools, Hanson was not going to vote these articles in May, which they're not. And she also thought they were not going to vote them in the fall, not until next year. I called Lisa Green. She said, oh no, they're not voting them in May. However, if the school provides the necessary backup, they will vote them in the fall. Are we definitely having a fall town meeting? We don't know. Could we maybe because of MBTA, or could we maybe because of the South Shore Vo-Tech, or so there's reasons that we could be having one, and if these don't get voted now, the money is still reserved there to vote it in the fall. So
Okay.
So when you say that, right,
Yeah.
The dollar figures in all these school articles are part of your budget,
Yes.
balanced budget?
they're part of free cash.
Okay,
Right,
They don't
we're not
put it all as
over
free
on
cash.
free cash here.
right, okay. So if we voted no on all of the school articles, then this money would be then
Available.
available for free cash.
But then they wouldn't have their articles in the fall when Hanson votes them, because we wouldn't have funds.
Right. Yeah, if we spend any
Spend
other,
it now, you're not
You
gonna
spend
have
any
it for
other
them
free
in the
cash.
fall.
right.
Right.
So I would caution against that.
Caution against voting against them?
Oh, unless
No,
you-
no.
Well, I
like
mean, I
change-
would say vote against these,
Yeah.
because they don't, or pass over these, I should say. But I
I
wouldn't
think,
spend that free
yeah,
cash
because we're talking about.
No,
looking at-
no.
for anything else, or closing it.
We're talking about
right, or-
proposing capital stabilization, just because the free cash is there, don't go back and say, oh, we get free cash. Leave it as is.
Right,
you
to be spent for the
It's almost
schools
in
in the
advance
fall.
held, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
But we can still vote against them now.
Oh,
Without-
they didn't supply the backup.
Yeah, they didn't
Right,
supply the
yeah, yeah.
backup. So by
Okay.
that in itself, how can we support it if we
Right.
don't have the backup?
And the fact is that the Finance Committee has made a commitment where funding is available that we would concur with the recommendations of the Capital Committee because they're doing the work.
They're
right?
doing the-
They're
yeah,
doing the
they're doing
research,
the
they're doing the.
front, yeah.
So I would say because they're not recommending, then we should not recommend. That's
Fair enough.
right? Is
Yeah,
that a
fair enough,
assessment?
yep.
Okay. So let's start with Article 27.
29.
29, sorry.
Uh,
So this is for $58,722 from free cash to purchase and install a cooled chiller compressor. Do we have a motion?
motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. So again, we're looking for concurrence with the capital committee here. So Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No?
Rosemary,
Abstain.
Chuck,
No.
John,
No.
and I vote no. So we got a 5-0-1, Rosemary.
051.
051.
051.
Sorry.
Or after your bedtime.
Yep,
Yeah.
you know.
I have 10 minutes.
After 8 o'clock, you always see my eyes starting to fade.
Unless there's a card game going.
Yep.
That should be like a card game here, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like it. We always lose.
Okay, so Article 30, same thing, right? See if the town will appropriate $86,139.30 from free cash to purchase and install a fire panel at the Whitman Hanson Regional High School, including any and all related costs thereto, or take any other action in relation thereto. Motion. John.
Second.
Chuck. Seconds. Discussion. Okay, we're ready to vote. Ralph.
No.
Mike.
No?
Rosemary.
Abstain.
Chuck.
No.
John.
No.
And I vote no. 051, Rosemary. Okay, Article 31, am I there?
Mm-hmm.
See if the town will vote to appropriate $54,188 from free cash to migrate the existing fire panel into a new fire panel at the Whitman Hanson Regional High School, including any and all related costs thereto, or take any other action in relation thereto. Motion.
No. So moved.
A yawning second.
We have a motion and a second. Again, school article, no support from Capital. Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No?
Rosemary.
Nobody's worried about a fire panel here. Like,
Rosemary.
I'm gonna say yes to this. one.
Okay, Chuck.
No, you can't.
I can't.
So, just so you understand, Article 30 replaces the panel. 31
Yeah.
moves us to the panel. These are two articles that
I am told
you
I
have
can't,
to vote
so
them.
I
You have to vote them both.
abstain. I'm abstaining.
Abstain.
'Cause I'm
All
not
right.
I'll say
allowed
yes.
to, although
I mean, I'm sorry.
There's nothing to move
No,
to,
no.
because we already said no.
John, are you a no?
No. Yeah. Yes, I am a no.
Who's on first?
You gotta check what you voted
Okay.
the last one.
All right, so we got 051, Rosemary abstaining.
I don't know. I think simply-
All right, Article 32, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $8,638.11 from free cash to purchase and install a replacement core router at the Whitman Hanson Regional High School, including any and all related costs thereto, or take any other action in relation thereto. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion, vote, Ralph.
No.
Mike?
No?
Rosemary?
Abstain.
Chuck?
No.
John?
No.
And I vote no. 051, Rosemary. Article 33, you leaving?
Nope.
Oh,
The one before that, was that a 051 as well? 31?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all.
Okay, I was answering Todd's email.
Oh.
If you want to get back to
you want to go back to that?
27? No.
The heating circulator pumps are for the town hall boiler room.
Okay.
I figured out for you.
Does anybody have a number?
26, Article 26.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
26.
where was it?
Town hall boiler room?
And when they're in, they'll sound just like that.
Yep.
Yeah. And actually,
Sing to you, is that what you're saying?
So we already voted not to accept that article, but now we know where we're not putting things.
yeah, oh, that's a heat circulator.
Okay?
Okay, yeah.
Hold on, are we,
No, we already
It
did.
doesn't change what we're doing.
Okay.
We voted to, because we want to change the source,
the
the
funding
funding
source?
source.
Funding source.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're on Article 33. See if the town will vote to appropriate $27,053.45 from free cash to purchase and install an uninterruptible power source unit replacement at the Whitman Hanson Regional High School, including any and all related costs thereto, or take any other action in relation thereto. Motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion, vote, and Ralph.
No. Discussion point.
Okay?
Capital
Here,
budget.
the comment has absolutely nothing to do with Article 33. It's copy and pasted from the other articles, which are all network oriented. This is a UPS system. So,
Ooh.
So it's a bad comment.
Okay,
What color is your car?
that's good one for
33.
Mary Beth.
I think that's how it came in.
It's got number 33 painted on the side.
I guess that's what they meant by they didn't have the right information right there.
Well, yeah, it's just like I said, you can see it's a copy and paste thing, and it's like, oops.
Well, where else was it copied and pasted from? Article
It's
32?
the same on 32, 34, 35. You'll have the same problem with Article 36. That's another UPS that they copy and pasted. So it's whoever just went through and said they're basically the same, just iterations, which school they were putting in and how much it was. But these two are completely different.
Okay, so which ones would you have Mary Beth take out?
33 and 36, those comments need to be either altered or removed.
Okay.
But I don't know
They
that
can't
they're
alter
the
anything
schools.
from the schools.
No.
Oh,
So I'll have to make sure it's theirs. Here's Whitman Capital. Let me
Yeah.
see if I can. It's the matrix. I'm looking for the wording to see.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't wanna hold you guys up, but I noticed like with the fire department and the police, they put the date on the old vehicle that they're trying to get rid of. And I'm seeing like the condenser and the heat circulators, and then like all this, technical stuff at the schools, and they're saying it's all end of life, but do you guys keep track of when this stuff was originally?
Well, that would really be the capital committee's
That-
purview.
Actually, that wouldn't be the capital, that would be the procurement officer's job.
But it wouldn't be the job of the finance committee.
It
That's
would
all.
not be as big, but I think it's something that we should be asking. It's right.
It'll be at the schools level.
Yeah,
though.
the school and
School
town
level.
If
level.
it's schools
Yeah,
items.
It kind of depends.
School
where
and
they
anything
come
in
for the
town.
request.
Yes,
facilities
tag
would
on
be
each of them, it
into
spans.
Just so, cause I'm just reading it, and it's like, it's
Right.
not saying anything, well, it's end of life, well, I could come to you every year and say something's end of life, you
Right.
don't know.
Yeah, it's just a word.
But there'll be somebody on the floor that will get up and answer all those
Justify
questions.
it.
Absolutely,
Validate
from
it.
the school. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I can tell you in another half an hour, I'll be at end of life.
Don't say that.
Yeah. At least make it to May
Okay, so I'm
6th.
sorry.
But thank you for your good comment. Thank you. Yeah.
So
Correct.
33
Let me go back there if I could.
and
33.
36.
Check comment.
Yeah, the comments, just so you know, the comments are about their network access points,
Okay.
but the request is for
And uninterrupted power source.
Power source.
Okay. So they'll have to,
They'll have to
Well,
find another
but
answer.
if it's passed over, it's passed
It
over.
was passed over anyway, but
It's a moot point.
Yeah,
But what was the other one then?
36. It's,
Just those two.
They're the same. It's
Yeah.
the same thing for two different schools.
Okay.
Okay,
One's the high school, one's Duval and Conway.
good catch, Michael.
33 and 36. Okay.
There's our technology liaison at work right there. Don't you tell me these liaisons don't work. All right, so 33, then we're looking for a motion. Did I read that? I did. $27,053.45 for the uninterruptible power source. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So, we'll move to a vote. Ralph?
No.
Mike?
No,
Rosemary?
No,
Chuck?
No.
John?
No.
And I vote no. 060.
I didn't even notice that.
That was on 33.
33.
Gotcha.
that's gonna be.
34. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $17,292.42 from free cash to purchase and install a wireless system and wireless access point replacements at the Whitman Hanson Regional High School, including any and all related costs thereto, or take any of the action in relation thereto. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We go to a vote. Ralph?
No.
Mike?
No,
Rosemary?
No.
Chuck?
No.
John?
No.
And I vote no. 060. Article 35, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $37,408 from free cash to purchase and install a wireless system and a wireless access point replacements at the Duval Elementary School, Conley Elementary School, and Whitman Middle School, including any and all related costs thereto. Motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
we're gonna go along with the capital committee,
Right.
but I'm noticing some weird numbers here. 17,000 for a single school, 37,000 for 3 schools. Should it not be 3 times 17? And I'll come to the same thing with the UPS systems, 27,000 for 1 school, 10,000 for 3 schools.
So only thing I would say about a single mobilization for any contract is usually some cost saving.
There is, but not that. It seems out of place. It's just weird numbers.
Okay, good point. All right, we have a motion and a second, and we had discussion. Now we're ready to vote. Ralph?
No.
Mike?
No.
Rosemary?
No.
Chuck?
No.
John?
No.
And I vote no. 060. 36. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $10,622 from free cash to purchase and install an uninterruptible power source at the Duval Elementary School, Conley Elementary, and Whitman Middle School. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on Article 36. Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Ralph?
No.
Mike?
Nope.
Rosemary?
Abstain on this one.
Chuck?
No.
John?
No.
And I vote no. We got an 051 Rosemary.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I misheard that. Sorry.
You're a no?
I'm a no.
We got an 060. So Article 37 is where we want to pick up with Kathleen. And I know why, because, but my computer's not on.
Right.
This
This
is
is
a
changing the
reduction.
funding source.
Not and a
No,
reduction in
changing
total.
reduction.
Right?
Actually, reducing the total.
Reducing.
So here's her comment. I support Article 37, the STIP engineering cost, but believe it should be reduced from 316 to 155.9 based on the email you received from Bruce Martin, reducing the request from the 316.9. So I personally had a conversation with Bruce regarding this, and he gave me that number. Was the number that the environmental partners said would not cause any interruption because they still had money in the line from the last appropriation. Mary Beth.
So I spoke to Bruce right after you either emailed with him or spoke to him, and he said he would really like the whole thing funded. I mean, to get us to that 1.5, in the total of 5 years. So he said, I said, I didn't realize you were reducing it. And he had thought in your conversation that you said, can you do nothing this year, or what's the lowest amount that you can afford to do?
Right.
And so
Came up with that.
he came up with that
Well,
number.
he didn't
but-
come up with that number. They did.
Well, he gave
Environmental.
you that number
Right.
from whatever, but he's hoping that it gets funded at the full amount, of course.
Yeah. I guess if we
So we're all very eager to get this project moved forward
Great
for sure.
project.
But in the light of the fact that the finance committee is recommending us to not do an override based on the fact that we need to do a comprehensive override for all departments, I think that this can be revisited at some point in the future, in the near future. That it's not going to cause any delay, not going to cause any jeopardy to this project at all. Rosemary.
So we can also wait to deny some of these school projects and also put this on in the fall again to add to it. So
It's possible.
If we needed to.
If you don't
sure.
spend the money,
Right.
if we're not spending,
Yeah.
if we're not
Possible,
spending,
you're
yeah.
not spending the money
Yep.
for anything else. I
This is
mean,
what we already have those.
you know.
We'll see what we're doing in the fall with the school articles.
Okay, so we have a motion that we're going to amend on town hall floor, right? To amend this article to read, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $155,900. Amend. So I would suggest then that we vote no, right, in order for us to amend. Is that correct?
As an amended article.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for your concurrence. Then we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are we ready to vote? Yes. Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No.
Rosemary,
No,
Chuck,
No.
John,
No.
and I vote no. 060. Okay, Article 38, I just want to see if there's another one that we have to do like a stop off here. No, there are no other articles that would require an amendment. I've got a pretty busy schedule for town meeting as it is. So Article 38 is actually, I guess this is a money article. See if the town vote to have its elected treasurer-collector become an appointed treasurer-collector of the town, subject to acceptance by the voters of the town at the next annual town election. So I think everybody's familiar with this. It was on the warrant last year and went to the ballot and was defeated.
Mm-hmm.
So here it is again. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion.
So where does this fit into our concern from a finance perspective?
That's right.
It's how we collect. I mean, basically, it's been on. It handles our money. Any aspect of the money. It doesn't have to be
Elected versus appointed, is there a salary that's involved in this? Would the salary be changed? Are there any benefits we have to, how from a financial aspect? Because other than that, it really has nothing to do with us, I don't think.
No, you're right.
I don't think we voted on this last time.
I think we did vote it because part of this was if the finance committee was elected and appointed in the same one.
Well, it might have,
I guess it's
I don't think it was the same article, was it?
No.
No.
It
well,
wasn't.
the only way to look at
It
it.
definitely
It was a
wasn't.
special town meeting.
I would thoroughly disagree.
It's been brought up that it might be more of a safeguard with the complexities nowadays of finance and banking and we don't have to tell her.
So it's not a direct financial piece, but
No, but it's wanting to being concerned that you have the right person for the job, not just somebody who got elected because
right, you get a
they
vetted
went
a person capable with
capable
skill
with
set.
skill set.
Thank you. That's
I believe that's why it was brought up this way.
okay.
So there is a
Rosemary, go ahead.
there's money you're paid for training. They do the training at the state level. They even get I think it.
But we pay for it either way.
Yes, we're going to pay a person, and they are educated, and this is bonded. So if they do make a mistake, it's bonded. So
Right.
it's not going to fall
Either
back
way.
I
on
don't
the
like
taxpayer.
mistakes.
It's something they didn't make
Either
clear.
way.
But ultimately, it's a safeguard in terms of keeping powers that be separate.
Right. That's what.
The democratic process separate,
Right.
so that you don't have. You're just keeping. You don't have the selectmen governing how the money comes in, how the money's invested, how the money.
You could
all
argue.
of those things.
You could argue this either way, but that's not for us to argue,
So
right?
I would disagree with this one.
Okay,
because it's my-
and that's
Okay,
fine.
we can
We're
vote
going
on
to
it.
move on.
Yep.
Your disagreement has
Right.
been noted.
So
Your
Yep.
point has been
Got
noted.
it. Got it. Got my
Mary
answer.
Beth.
This was brought up at a special town meeting last year, and it did pass, I would say overwhelmingly on the floor.
On the floor.
It was a special town election. This is an annual town election. It makes perfect sense to
To have
get
more
qualified people to put it back out this soon. But I agree. I don't think it's an article that you voted on last year, and I don't think it's one that you should need to vote on this year. But that's up to you.
I would
we could look
concur.
at those numbers, but I'm pretty sure we did vote on it last year because it is how money is invested.
But it
It doesn't have a
no,
dollar.
it definitely does not have a financial impact on this finance committee. Is anybody?
Whoa! How money invested does have a financial impact.
The question, Article 38
Should
has
be
the
elected
question.
or appointed.
Nope.
What to do.
not our concern.
It comes to that point.
You may have a preference. You may have an
It
opinion.
isn't. It isn't a preference. It's that you are opening it up to.
Well, there's
Okay.
It's your
I
opinion, your
just-
preference.
I'm going to wait a second because usually people learn through time.
Okay.
and hold,
Anybody want to marinate a little while here?
and hold signs on May 18th.
Ultimately, I feel as if the town has already voted on this, and to try to slip it through a second time.
It's not slipping, it's putting it right
Well,
out
it's
there.
putting it out there.
It's on the warrant. Okay. So,
Question,
John, go ahead.
if we're not voting on this,
Yeah. Why are we debating it?
Finance Committee voted to.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why that's on there.
recommend
Yeah,
Yeah.
Be taken off of.
Yes.
Article.
It will definitely be taken off. Yes.
done.
Okay.
Not
There it goes.
Not in terms
It's gone.
of this. Not in terms of this article,
Alright.
right?
Just so
Whatever
you know,
Agreed.
I don't like the idea.
Hold on, Rosemary. John has got.
Yep.
Yeah, and everybody has an opinion on this, right? That's not the question. I certainly have an opinion on this. I'm not going to share it because it's not our purview in this context. This is the Finance Committee. We're not recommending anything that that has to do with finances with this article, in my opinion.
That's why
I'll share mine at the ballot box.
Okay, and everybody can share those at town meeting.
They made it. You just
Or
made a
town meeting,
statement. I
or
just
town
want a
meeting.
Point of correction.
Yeah.
The finance committee, all aspects of finance. That means
Rosemary, your point has been taken.
thank you.
Many
And we're
times.
gonna move on.
How we invest wood.
So, Article 39, is this for us? Community Preservation Committee request. There are
No.
sums of money incorporated in here.
But
That's
there's
right,
no
there
request.
are, and
Well-
I heard tomorrow that they will, Justin spoke with the gentleman from CPA. He was hoping to get us the sums of money that I could pop in there before, the meeting tomorrow night with the selectmen. But the other two, 40 and 41, have been broken apart. They were all in one article, that's the way CPA submitted it, but council wants it broken into 3 different votes.
Okay, so 39 has a sum of money, so I think what we spoke about earlier was that we can't support it until we see the sum of money.
Correct.
Is that, it can,
Sure.
are we in agreement?
Yes.
Be consistent.
Okay,
Yes.
so, I'll take a motion on Article 39,
motion to
consider.
consider.
We have a second,
Second.
okay? So, Article 39, see if the town will vote to appropriate or reserve from fiscal year 25 Community Preservation Fund estimated annual revenues in the amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for the committee administrative expenses, community preservation projects and other expenses in fiscal 25, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation or take any other action relative thereto. And that's where it spells out appropriation, and that's where a sum of money is indicated where that is no dollar figure. So, we have a motion and a second. We'll further discussion.
I think you need to add the line, there's nothing here that says proposed by anyone, and there's no marking for finance committee voted underneath 39, 40, 41, or 42.
Okay, we need to add those lines.
And I can add those.
FinCom recommended by, I imagine it was recommended by the committee preservation.
Yeah,
It is, CPA,
yeah,
yeah.
just consistency in
Yep.
how the warrant is put together, that's all.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and with a no dollar figure, we're ready to vote. Ralph?
No.
Mike?
No.
Rosemary?
No.
Chuck?
No.
John?
No.
And I vote no. 060. Article 40. This one does have dollar figures. So to see if the town will vote to transfer to the Community Preservation Historic Resource Reserve balance a sum of $1,100 to fund plaques for surveyed historic sites in Whitman or take any other action relative thereto. Do we have a motion?
This is Article 40.
This is Article 40. It changed, right? They got broken out
They
over
wrote
the...
it in 3 separate
This morning,
I
yeah.
think John moved it. I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Further discussion on Article 40. Okay, seeing none,
Sorry, does that amount exist currently?
1,100. Right, that's
In
the,
the CPA fund.
it's in that bucket of money.
It does the Community Preservation Historic Resource Reserve balance have $1,100 to move over? That's all I'm asking is, do they have the money to do this?
I believe that they do. Hmm?
I wouldn't see why they wouldn't. Why they would.
Yeah.
Do they meet with you as well?
I don't know.
Right?
I'm married. I
Can,
don't
can we meet?
balance
I don't think we
anyplace.
met with CPA.
No. Justin's usually.
But I mean, they certainly wouldn't propose an article for
Okay.
transferring a balance if they didn't have it, right?
Okay.
I would think.
Yeah.
If not, we'll just take it out of your paycheck.
Yeah. Actually, you're the only one that doesn't.
I seen it coming off the tax bill. They got the money there somewhere.
All right, so we're ready to move on. 40, Ralph.
Come on, let's try to.
No.
It's right here. Let's see.
Ralph's a no. Mike?
I'll say yes.
Rosemary?
Yes, it's part of the grant.
I take that back. I'll say yes.
Yeah, okay. Chuck?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we're 6-0-0.
Okay.
41, see if the town vote to transfer open space resource reserve balance a sum of $30,000 to fund an open space and recreation plan for the town of Whitman, or take any other action relative thereto. So the open space and recreation plan will allow Whitman to maintain its quality of life and ensure the best of the built and natural environments. Well, that all sounds green. right? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. It's motions from John. Do we have a second?
Second.
From Mike. Discussion.
Again, same question. This money does exist. This is a little more. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does say, Town of Whitman stands to raise $180,000 to $190,000 annually to the fund. So,
Okay.
that's just, I'm looking for the total amounts at the state right now, but I do.
All right. State.
All right, we're ready to move then. Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Article 42, see if the town vote to amend the general bylaws of the town of Whitman and the town of Whitman protective zoning
That was a
bylaw.
count on.
Oh,
There's no money on it.
No money.
600 in the previous one.
okay, no vote there, 42. Thank you for saving me reading.
Yeah.
The need-based real estate tax exemption amount increase, this one does have money, right?
Let me just, if I could,
Yeah.
comment. So on 43 and on 44, the attorney came back with some comments that these amounts may exceed what we're allowed to do under law if we have not accepted clause 17E, which we did not. So I have Wendy looking at these. They're going to stay as is. She may pass over these next two, and then when we get to 45 and 46, those are fine. We did adopt the clause 41D on those, but these two may be passed over, just so you know. Wendy is looking at those now.
Okay, you want to just give a quick evaluation of what this tax exemption, Mass General Law 59, Section 5, Clause 17th D.
That really would be the assessor. But
So it's just giving you some relief on your assessment.
it's upping the amount to make more people eligible for these different exemptions. So they want to increase the granted eligible from like 175 to 350. I think what they did is looked around at other towns and said, well, Rockland's given 350 or whatever, or different towns, and so they upped them. However, you can't up them unless you've adopted a certain section, which according to the town clerk's office today, we have not done. So I gave these to Wendy. I gave her the attorney's comments. She's looking at those. Worst case scenario, they'll stay on it. We'll just pass over them.
Is that all of these right through 47?
Nope, just 43 and 44.
Okay.
45 and 46.
Have the dollar amounts and they are acceptable.
And we did adopt the section of the law that allows
Allows
them
it.
to,
Okay.
right.
That does put us in a strange position because we're saying that there's a legal challenge to these particular articles with the dollar figures that are in there, right? So we would probably be best to either abstain or vote no, even though we may be for them. It's the dollar figures that are challenged.
The dollar figures are challenged, and it could also argue we don't have what does this actually mean in full dollars? We
Yeah,
don't know.
impact. We don't have impact
We
amounts.
sent that to you. I mean, she didn't give us
Yeah.
definite impact analysis because she doesn't know. She doesn't know
How many?
how many
because
people
it'll
are going to
change how
come
many will
forward.
take it, right?
And how do
So
you
it's always a
gauge that?
swag at this point. right?
Exactly.
But there's
So we
one
don't
on
have that.
Article 45.
Well, let's not get too far ahead. Let's try to stay with 43.
Yeah.
They're pretty out.
Right?
They're-
Just be,
Well,
are we considering it because there's a legal challenge or? See, this is difficult for me because I'm for this, but I'm not for over voting for something that's not legal.
I would
Right.
treat
Put it on the
this
floor?
the same as we've done some of the others.
Well, I abstain. I'm not.
I think this is an abstention from the finance committee. We kind of don't have enough information, and there's a cloud overhead. We can certainly change our recommendation if it becomes more clear at town
Okay,
hall.
so I think that's a good way to do it because
Town meeting.
we've made a blanket statement that we're not going to support articles that don't have dollar figures. So those are no's. This has a dollar figure, but the dollar figure is in question, so they should be abstentions.
That's my stance.
Okay.
I just have a quick, are these all wealth-based? Because Article 45 doesn't seem like it's a income-based.
No, I don't think they're all wealth-based.
Yeah, I think that I would vote absolutely no on income-based properties. So these are, some of these are that you don't have to prove that you even need the adjustment financially. And I think if we're looking at revenue increases, remember, what isn't paid by one person is offset in the 2.5 to another person.
Right.
So
Here we're not talking about a huge impact to the rest of the.
I love that you said that, but we pretty much used the overlay for the last one that we did last
This
year.
article he's referring to is 350.
Right. This
Yeah.
this article. Well, in the aggregate, we don't really know how
Could be-
many eligible seniors
Could be
that
10
would be.
seniors, could be
Yes,
100
I mean, you
seniors.
don't have to prove
I
it.
think
don't know that.
I think she was clear that this wasn't a lot of people. I think when she came in, she said that.
Well, why don't we see what happened to the last one?
All right.
Because remember, we have to plan an override. We still have to support services, so we have to plan an override coming up, and you're pulling back on revenue. So that's fine when it's income based and somebody is having a really hard time. That is
No,
an aging in
I
place
understand.
policy.
I understand
when it's
your
not
point.
income based, it isn't that. It's something different. So I would pull back.
Right, but this one is income based,
Um,
adjusted by the cost of living adjustment percentage. Oh no, that's not it. Okay, then we don't know if this one is or isn't.
yes, I don't believe it is.
It looks like the assessor did respond today. She said, I responded to the comments by Peter Sumner's attorney in the attached document. I further referenced Town of Abington, Clause 17D, exemption amount of $350. Again, you can't just pick it
Use
because
another
another
town.
town
They
did
might be
it.
doing it
If
illegally.
they adopted a different section of the law
Oh.
than we did. So
Right.
we'll have to wait and see what Peter comes back with
All right,
tomorrow.
so I think we're pretty clear that we're going to abstain, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say,
Did we get a motion?
motion to move it.
All right, we got a motion and a second, so we'll start with the abstentions from Ralph.
Abstain.
Abstain?
Rosemary?
Abstain, but I think it's a good idea to do an age in place process. You know,
Okay, it's going to.
I will abstain as well.
All right, John?
Abstain.
So a 0, I'm going to abstain as well, 006.
Which number are we talking about here?
This is Article 43.
There's 43.
Okay, Article 44.
you guys know how to party.
Same. Same thing.
I'm just afraid if we don't get to the end of the warrant, we're just going to give us way too much to do tomorrow.
Drooling on these papers asleep.
I know I'm the only one that got up at 3:30 this morning.
I know I slept in.
Get up at 3:50.
Oh, close.
Got up at
I didn't get out.
5.
I get up at 3:50 every day.
All right, so let's go to Article 44, and this is another one that's challenged.
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay.
44 is.
44 is challenged, so I'll first entertain a motion.
Motion to,
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we're going to Ralph for an abstention.
Yep, abstain.
Mike,
abstain?
Rosemary?
I'm gonna abstain as well, but again, is this a...
Chuck?
Abstain.
That's a question you can ask on town hall floor, because there's there's going to be an amendment, right? And John?
Abstain.
And I abstain.
I'd like to have it before the 10:04 and we... Whatever.
Well, you can make a call. You're the
I will.
liaison to the assessor.
What? Who? Yes.
So what was that?
That was
So
44.
006 for 44.
006, thank you. Okay.
And Article 45, is there any challenge to this dollar figure? No.
No, just did we accept a certain clause, and we did for both 45 and 46.
Okay. So Article 45, see if the town vote pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41st D, to increase the exemption qualifying maximum of gross receipts for eligibility of unmarried senior taxpayers to $35,000 and a married senior taxpayer to $50,000, adjusted by the cost of living adjustment percentage thereafter, to be effective for exemptions granted for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2024, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion. John's motion.
Second?
Mike seconds. Discussion. So this is income based, right?
I don't see it as...
It's right in the title.
It is.
Yes.
Increase whole...
Gross receipts.
Oh, I'm
Income.
sorry.
Yeah, it's buried right in there.
It's buried right in the heading.
Okay, gross receipts, fine. fine, guys.
It's buried in the heading.
And this is fine, right?
All right, so any further, we got a motion on this one already, right?
Yes,
Yes.
we do.
Any further discussion on Article 45?
No, I think all of these still have that same basic concern. We don't really have an idea as to what this would mean to
What it could
our
turn
total.
into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, is it
But I
10
think-
people
But
or
it's supposed to be
1,000?
best practices is to, particularly as we're building, if we're working towards MBTA, best practices is an age in place process so that, I mean, this is part of what the state is saying. It's just a list of best practices they sent to you.
It's still nice to know what that means.
Well, I think we
I guess-
did get this
That's
information.
all I'm asking.
Well, we did get it.
Yeah.
When she was here, she explained to us that there wasn't a lot of people that fall into this
And
category.
I guess
That's
maybe
not, that's not an answer.
if
Yeah,
it,
I don't know. If that,
If
you know,
it-
that's
if
What
it
is
passes,
not a
we
lot of
can
people
look
mean?
back at
That's
it
not
next year and see what the
you know,
effect was.
yeah.
Comparative, not a lot compared to the world, not a lot, you know.
It just when you're talking money, I like to have numbers,
Numbers, yeah,
not
that's
a
what it's all.
shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Even if there was
Kind of like-
numbers, this particular one is
Well,
an agent.
Like
place, so.
I think this was brought about because it was trying to give some of the seniors some a little bit of tax relief with all the
We did
upcoming
the
bills,
article, too.
and all we can do is if this passes, we can see what it turns into, and then if it's too much, if somebody wants to or too, you know,
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna take it back, because
Okay.
we've already passed 2 of these already.
all right. So
So I think
I personally am for this.
I am
Yeah.
so for it, but I think we should also see what
Yeah,
the
but-
last one produced.
Where are we going to get this information? This is 9:30 on Monday night. We're done
Well, Mary
tomorrow.
Beth is raising her hand.
Go ahead.
No, I think you were sent the explanations. Did you get those?
Yeah.
Okay, I just sent them again to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure. All right.
So if you want to look at them again, there are now. Well, I'll
I just
I'll
sent
forward
it to
them.
you.
Yeah.
So you said it's forward.
It's fine.
So, like I said, this to me is a kind of a no-brainer. But you know, you certainly can vote what you feel. If you feel this is a burden to the overall levy capacity, or
Well, I think we're looking for an override. We have some of them, but not all of them. You know what I mean? That's all.
okay.
I think
All right.
the sentiment was so that seniors don't get priced out of their houses and got to force and move somewhere else.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's not going to help our tax
not going to
base
help out. Yeah.
if we have people moving out, right?
Nope.
Right.
If we can keep people living in their homes here in Whitman, I think we're going to be better off. So,
It's called age in place processes, which is what it was. So which one is wealth based is kind of, so I would say yes to this one personally, but
okay. Further discussion? Okay, then we'll go to vote. Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. 600 on Article 45. Article 46. Increase whole estate-based senior citizen real estate tax exemption. See if the town vote pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41st D, to increase the exemption qualifying maximum of the whole estate assets, excluding the domicile, for eligibility of unmarried senior taxpayers to $50,000 and for a married senior taxpayer to $65,000 to be effected for exemptions granted for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2024, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So now we're talking about whole estate-based tax exemption.
So it excludes your second home. So I'm going to go to no.
No, it
Excluding
excludes your domicile.
your domicile. So hold on one second.
So whatever you have in 401k, stock, everything else is still part of this.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how effective this would be, to be
A
honest.
cozy
for most
cottage
people.
on Hobart's
Yeah,
Pond.
I don't think
Yeah, there's
so.
not many dwellings in the $50,000 range here in Whitman, do you think?
No.
No, this is saying that your assets, except for your
Except
house.
for your house.
So do you have more than $50,000 in assets when you're retired? I certainly hope so.
I certainly hope so
I
too.
know
So
there are people that don't.
I think and the people that don't should qualify for
Then,
this.
okay. If
I think
it's
this is a
people that-
very
this-
small number
Yeah.
here.
This,
Very small.
yes, if it's that, yes.
Okay.
For a second, me, I'm like,
This is a safety net.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
this is a
for the
good one.
most challenged of the taxpayers here we have in Whitman. So,
The
All right.
poorest of the poor.
right.
Yeah.
All right, Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. 47. family housing modification real estate tax exemption. See if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law 59, Section 5, Clause 50th to provide an exemption
You
on
need an attorney to read these.
certain real estate taxes up to $500 for the increased value of a residential real property as a result of alterations or improvements to provide housing for a person who is at least 60 years old, who is not the owner of the premises, which exemption will terminate when the premises is no longer occupied by any such elderly person, to be effective for exemptions granted for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2024, or take any other action relative thereto. That is definitely a run-on sentence.
So moved.
I'm not.
We have a motion. Chuck, you want to second this one?
Yes, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Rosemary.
So you can own huge real estate buildings, and then if you have tenants that are elderly, you just get $50 credits for having an elderly person in your. I mean, how does this work? This is the one I was just like, it doesn't really help the person, and it usually if you're renting, you get Section 8 or other state funded things, so we don't have to provide that. The state, if you're a vulnerable senior, the state would provide that.
Well, this is definitely helping developers, right?
This looks like a trickle down.
Yeah.
Right. If you were to make an improvement on the property that you have senior people in now, you would normally pass that on to them in a rent increase for next year to cover the costs of those. This is basically saying, don't do that. We're going to decrease your taxes because you did something for those folks. It's not directly to the person. It's indirectly maintaining their rental charges.
Well, what about a
Right.
situation where you now just put in an in-law apartment because you got an older family member you want to move in
Point two.
because that person can't live by themselves?
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Then you would be able.
Okay.
Well, but it specifically
The
says
person who owns the
you don't
property.
own the house.
If the person who owns the property has the ability to rent property and have people in, they have income.
Mm-hmm.
They're not low income. This is not the same.
Right, but
They could be abused. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
it could be, but I don't think it's going. I don't think it's going to be rampant.
I'm going to say no to this one.
Well, I think the idea too here is to make sure that we're giving some incentives to improve properties too.
Yes.
I mean, in this economy and in this environment, we should give every opportunity to make improvements on property, right?
I just got yelled at for not doing town finance stuff. That is not a town finance to incentivize other people to do things. That's not part of our town finance. B, it's so abstract. It doesn't say you have to. Where does it say you have to provide any exemption? Real estate taxes. 60 years persons over. I mean,
So it's helping. It's helping improve the living conditions of people over 60. I think that's the premise.
There's laws that do that. You can't have somebody over 60 doing it. So basically, you're saying we're going to pay you not to break the law, and you're supposed to have a condition of your home. So I don't think that that's even necessary.
Okay.
I mean,
All right. Well, let's not belabor it. You're either for it or you're not. That's all.
yeah, it's romanticized in this conversation.
I don't know about that.
essentially, but it essentially is pulling down from our levy for people who could pay.
Right. To what degree? I guess. Right.
They would then qualify for another exemption if they couldn't.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. All right. Further discussion. We ready to move on this? So yeah. I could go either way on that.
Thank you.
Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
No.
Chuck,
I'm going to abstain.
John,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. I have no idea where we are.
411.
411.
That's going to get abused.
Information.
It's going to get abused heavy.
Let's call information.
Honestly, I liked Ralph's piece there too.
What happened?
The in-law apartment, et cetera, could absolutely be a part of
Could
it.
have a 3-bedroom only, or
I'm saying,
No, I've seen it.
All right.
48.
Well, we're moving on.
Go in.
Article
People,
48.
people, stay focused.
Focus,
sorry.
focus.
Article
Sorry.
48.
stay on target.
Veteran Property Tax Work-Off Abatement Program. See if the town vote to accept Mass General Laws 59, Section 5N, authorizing the Board of Selectmen to establish a Veteran Property Tax Work-Off Program. whereby a veteran or spouse of a disabled or deceased veteran who qualifies for participation to volunteer to provide services to the town, in exchange for a reduction in real property tax obligations on the tax bill, in addition to any exemption or abatement to which that person is otherwise entitled, not to exceed the allowable Commonwealth of Massachusetts limit, and that any veteran or spouse of a disabled or deceased veteran or an authorized representative for persons physically unable to provide such services participating in such program shall not receive a rate of or be credited with more than the current minimum wage of Commonwealth per hour. Said program will be available as of July 1st, 2024, and run based on the town of Whitman's fiscal year or take any other action relative thereto. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I don't want to vote for this because there's only one period in that entire paragraph. Yeah. I go back to our earlier statement. I have no financial impact here at all. I don't know what this means to us in any way, shape, or manner. I know that that's not really the gist of this article, but for me as a finance member, I don't have any data here to say whether this is something I can support as a finance committee member.
Well, they are taking money from the real estate property tax obligations on the tax bill. So
they are, but I don't know how much. I mean, we've had others where, we know it's a big hit or it's a little hit. This one, I really have no feeling on this.
So basically, when you have the work off, you can say, we have people who work in the different.
No, I understand what it is.
Yeah,
So-
but there's no how much. What's
How
the
much-
what's
how
the
much
max? What's the is there a max?
I mean, it is supposed to be a certain amount of hours, isn't it, available?
Okay, let's go to Mary Beth.
So this is where we had two articles
Yep.
or two paragraphs that were submitted by the Board of Assessors and Shannon Burke. So they took that second one off, which really was sort of setting up the policy, which will be done after this is accepted, and that will be done by the Board of Selectmen, and that will give the guidelines. I believe that article had said 125 hours. I think the cap right now is $1,500 that you could give out, but those details will be further defined in a policy, but not in a warrant article. So this is just to accept the program, to establish the program, and then from there, the Board of Selectmen will.
So how many people can do this?
Yeah.
Limited slots?
No, I don't think that like as far as the COA, they have a certain amount. They're not filling them all. I wish they were filling them all. But I don't know what they're thinking of for the veterans. But yes, I mean, there is an ultimate cost to it, depending on how many they give and how much money.
And that would be the question: is how many veterans, spouses, etc. Because this is a big list of people that can take part in this. Is that 1,000 people? I think it's much more. We actually have a pretty big veteran base in Whitman.
Right, and
But there's not 1,000 positions that these people can fill.
This is
So
disabled
this
veterans,
also
isn't it?
requires that we have the position.
they may say we're just keeping it to
We've
25
got,
to
we got
start.
25 slots. That's
Correct.
what we have.
And so those are good questions. Yep.
Yeah.
And they should be able to answer those on the floor.
So it's a widower or a disabled veteran?
I think it could be the spouse of a deceased veteran.
Or even
Veteran or
deceased.
spouse of a disabled or deceased.
Yeah.
Or husband of a deceased
So
veteran.
you have a widower?
All right, so
This
I
is
think
just-
this is really
to
just the
establish
first
the
step.
program.
Yeah, it's really the first step, so
First
I don't
steps.
think we should overthink this.
No. Okay.
But the parameters are going to be established by the Board of
I mean, we
Selectmen.
get something back for
Okay.
it. We
Thank
get
you.
to
That
later.
answers my questions. Thank you.
All right, further discussion? Ralph,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, Article 49 doesn't really have us, no.
This came up before. We
Does
talked.
it?
I think Chuck, you and I brought up the fact that there is an impact,
No.
right?
About.
About accepting
This
a
adds to the. Does this add to the mileage on the amount
Chapter
of mileage?
90? Very minimally, Mrs. Chapter 90, hello?
Oh, wait a second. To see if the town will raise an appropriate.
Oh, you want me to read?
Oh, Captain Allen Way?
Yeah.
Yeah, this adds to mileage.
This adds to the mileage for funding from the state.
And so that formula is population, employment, and roads. So if our population is gonna jump, that's gonna add more money. So those are the three
So this-
components to that formula. So if we're going to accept the MBTA Community Act, we're gonna have a big population jump. So even like a half mile, a mile could give us a bump.
So that in a positive way.
Yes.
Okay, okay. 'Cause
We're already handling these, like,
This is, I guess,
we're already plowing it and caring for it, right? Because we can't get ambulances through and fire trucks safely, so we're already kind of doing this.
yeah, I don't know how it is I know I saw some things from our sister town that had problems with unapproved roads that they did not plow, and it was an issue for them because it wasn't an approved road.
Yeah, we were still plowing them.
Okay.
I remember
Thank
Bruce Young going, Bruce Martin going, we was the best meeting ever.
Okay.
What are we gonna do?
All right.
They live here.
Yep.
Mary Beth, did you want to
Nothing
chime
else.
in on this one?
Well, this was one that last year, so the planning board had sent the letter to accept Little Comfort
Estates.
Estates,
Yeah.
whatever it was at the time, but it didn't spell out Captain Allen Way. And so it
Right.
should have been both roads, but the directive from the planning board was just one. So we had to now just
Add
take,
that.
the Captain Allen. So this is just to finish
All right.
last year.
So I'm thinking that's a stretch for the chapter 90.
Yeah, but it clearly, my question was, should this be something we vote on? It sounds like no.
I would say no.
So
No.
we can
Well, it gets us money, but either way, it doesn't
move
matter.
on.
What I do want to know is this, if this is not, so once we accept it, this code, this is up to code. Like if this is the drainage is all set, everything about this is fine. Because if we accept it and it hasn't met those.
Right. Then there's some financial liability to
Yeah,
the town.
exactly.
Right.
That would be my only question for that one.
But it does say that it's constructed to meet the planning board and DPW requirements.
And
So
DPW is fine with it.
that's where you have to go, right?
I might have to believe him.
You're gonna have to believe him.
right.
Moving on to Article 50. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate outside the levy limit of Proposition 2.5, so-called, $509,212 to be added to Article 2, Budget Line 21, the Whitman Hanson Regional School District operating expense, voted this date, thereby approving the district's submitted budget for fiscal 25, provided that this additional appropriation shall be contingent on the approval of a Proposition 2.5 levy limit override under General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21CG. So, only thing I would say about this is I think just to get a bigger vote, there's only 6 of us. Wait till Kathleen comes in tomorrow. Hopefully she comes in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that way we can have a full contingent of votes from the Finance Committee. I don't think it's going to take long to table
Can I
this.
make a motion to table?
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Ralph?
Vice vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Mike says yes. Rosemary?
I'm in favor of tabling.
Okay, and Chuck
In favor of tabling.
and John?
Yes, put it on the table.
It's on the table, right? Just remember, we gotta get it off the table, so we can put our recommendation in there. Article 51. So this has a lot of pages, and I would ask for relief on reading the entire article.
Well, there's no request for the finance committee to
Right.
comment on this.
No dollar figure on the MBTA Communities Overlay District.
I think
Okay.
it was- I had a question.
Only the hope that it will turn into
It was
something
a-
really great
Yes.
and increase some revenue
I
and
think
taxes.
I think the money will come behind it, for sure,
Yeah.
right, when we get it done.
I saw some of the pictures or whatever, the drawings. It looked very
That was
exciting.
something that I wanted to.
Okay, Rosemary, go ahead.
I really did.
But we're not voting on this
We're
article,
not
make it
voting,
brief,
it's a
please.
question, Article 16 on this one, do we have Article 16 on that one? Where the bylaw stuff. So, my question is,
We're talking about Article 51 now,
I am
right?
talking about Article 51, but there's a section on the other one that the attorney has it. Did you take that out for the,
What are you talking about, what article?
attorney has a section where she's asking about.
This is the final,
Oh,
from
so
the
it's
attorney.
completed?
Yes.
This is the
completed.
final.
It's been
So
done.
you took out the,
We just replaced whatever was there with this final version.
perfect, so.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on to Article 52. This is a citizen's petition for Whitman Veterans Discretionary Fund. Can I get a motion to not read the thing in its entirety?
Motion to accept as article as detailed in the document.
Thank you so
There'll be
much.
an amendment on the floor for this one.
Okay.
And that amendment is instead of town manager, because it was copy and paste from Remington, it'll be a town, it'll be our current town sort of structure.
So it has to be amended?
Yeah, I'll just amend administrator and town administrator. And then if there's other amendments, I've offered other people to let me know.
Other dollar figure amendments?
There are no dollar figure amendments.
Okay. All right, further questions from the committee? Okay.
It essentially allows for if any questions, because I did put it forward.
It's to set up a fund to assist
Like a
veterans in need
revolving
more.
account for them, essentially, that's funded through fundraising outside of the levy. So like, there are some things that Abington does where they just sort of put clothing bin so they get like $1,000 a month, and it's a way to sort of offset some of the costs for emergencies. Right now, we're not meeting. We're not really. A lot of veterans, the emergency aspects, and my girlfriend took over at the VA for. She's on the board over there, and it's after 9, guys. My words are gone. She's on both boards of both veterans establishments in town, and they don't meet in like every month. They'll meet. So if they've got an issue right away, she needs to make sure like a fire happens, she has to house that person that night.
Okay, all right, are we ready to move on this?
I guess my question here is that, as I understand this, there's no funds that the town is
None.
giving to this.
None.
So I don't know that it's actually within our purview to look at this. It's a private organization that the town is agreeing
Kind of like
with.
setting it up.
They will do their own fundraising and manage their own monies, again, under the watchful eye of the town. There's an audit clause in
It
here.
just allows an opening for them to handle,
Right, but-
give it right to
Yeah,
the
Has
you're
no
right.
effect on me as a finance committee.
Are we all in agree that we're striking finance committee recommendation on this?
I think I can't do anything because I wrote it.
Right.
Yeah, no,
But I think it
I stole it.
it has merit, and you get the opinion of town
it's just
meeting.
not our responsibility then.
Not-
Just in terms of anybody's, if it doesn't work out, we pull it back
do we need
after
to-
an override.
To
And we're
vote, or
funding
do we
that
need to have a
department really
separate
well.
motion to?
Nope, we're just gonna
that?
strike the finance committee's vote to recommend off the bottom of it.
Done.
I think
Okay.
that's appropriate.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Michael, for that idea. Rosemary, for your action on getting it on the warrant. Article 53, Citizens Petition for the Town Clerk's Salary. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money to fund Article 2, Line 9 of the May 6, 2024 fiscal 25 annual town meeting town clerk's salary line to reflect the salary adjustment for the town clerk's salaries or take any other action relative thereto. So no dollar figure was provided?
Nope, she said she would either pass over or amend on the floor.
Well, we can't vote an article that has no money.
Okay, so,
Okay?
motion?
We've got a motion
Second.
and a second. And Ralph,
No.
Mike,
No.
Rosemary?
Abstain, but no. I gotta keep my own policies. I do think that this I do think that this is a merited increase based on.
That's for your vote.
Yep.
Town
Hey,
meeting.
Chuck?
But I
No.
need
John?
to know the amount.
So would you vote?
And I vote no as well.
Okay, there we go.
No,
Oh, 6-0.
it's killing me.
Oh,
I'd
6-0.
like to catch you there.
Ooh, we're nearing the end. Thank you for staying the course.
Oh, my goodness.
Always.
Article 54, to see if the town will vote to raise a sum of money from available free cash. Said funds to reduce the amount of money to be raised by taxation for fiscal year 25 or take any other action relative thereto. Do we have a motion?
Motion to accept and read.
We have a second. John's a second. Mary Beth.
So this article was put on there when I had a deficit of 164,000, one of the versions. So now it's a balanced budget. So this will go in front of the Board of Selectmen tomorrow. I'm not sure that they'll keep that article on there. now.
Right. So because it doesn't have a dollar figure, we'll just vote no anyway.
Yeah.
For now.
Okay,
And then if it comes off, it doesn't matter.
okay.
And if a dollar figure is provided, then we'll take a poll at town meeting on the floor and make our recommendation then. Right?
Okay, right, so I'm just saying it could come off tomorrow night
Yeah.
Yeah.
when they vote.
But if it comes off, it'll come off with our no vote, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, no, it will just not even be,
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
right, it won't even be
But-
on the page.
But if it does stay,
If it does stay, it
then
will
we
have
have
a no vote.
because
Okay,
we
I
have
gotcha.
no dollar figure,
Yeah.
right?
I get it.
Okay. Motion?
We have the motion already.
Oh, we have a motion. Sean?
If I understand correctly, you're gonna look to increase the school number.
I'm not gonna entertain that question. Nope.
Yeah.
Not gonna entertain that
No,
question?
no.
Nope, I am
No,
not
we're gonna-
entertaining
you
your
decreased
questions
it.
tonight.
We're gonna-
I entertained your,
we're gonna-
Rosemary, please.
You've got it.
You're misunderstanding me.
No, I'm not. I'm just telling you that we wasted a lot of time last Thursday with points from you that were divisive. And I don't wanna go down there. We're almost at 10 o'clock. So I would respectfully ask that you not propose any questions while the finance committee is deliberating on the
I
articles.
think you wanna hear this one.
I do.
Email it. You're welcome to email it.
Send an email. Article 54. We have a motion and a second. We're gonna go to vote. Ralph? This is a no vote because we don't have a dollar
We
figure.
have no dollar figure.
No.
Mike?
No.
Rosemary?
No?
Chuck?
No.
John?
No.
And I vote no. 060. Okay, so everybody is gonna get a copy of this Article 2.
What is that big fancy one he's got?
Look at this.
What is that?
Full color.
Good stuff.
You show up more.
Oh, there's only one color. You get the color one. There you go.
Ooh.
That's there, here's
Yeah,
the
God.
yeah,
I
you
have
can,
one.
Down.
you can absolutely have one.
I need like
Chuck's got.
I thought my
350s.
numbers were little.
Yeah, I know.
Whoa.
Get your magnifying
Whoa.
glass.
I need a magnifying glass.
Yes. I got the 3 pluses if you need them. Rick's always got
Something
spare.
you can grab on the way
Talk
out.
about an eye chart.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
Yep,
Not
go
that I don't mind hanging out with you guys, but, what will you be going over tomorrow night?
The actual,
This.
this.
Oh, that, okay, oh.
Yeah, it's like watching
All
grab
the
fries.
things were outside of this. This is effectively your operating budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're trying to preserve core services.
Just pass
And
these
these ones are
down.
I'll
good.
try to read up on it so I'm more
And
prepared.
these are the rest of
Trying to
the,
make sure that there's no effect to core services and pay
this is the rest of the information from Kathleen. So everybody get a copy of that.
or
So this is your homework
over the next year, hopefully.
for tomorrow night. So tomorrow night we'll be reconvening at 7 o'clock. And hopefully we'll have Kathleen and we'll delve into this Article 2. We have 2 recommendations for town meeting. So we're going to have to go through Article 2 and come up with recommendations for an override and for not an override. So we have quite a lot of work to do. So thank you for sticking it out on the warrant tonight. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, and
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Sorry, we can't entertain any more questions. All in favor?
yes,
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
I love when we have people
Mike?
in.
Good night.
Good night.
Adjourn.
Oh,
Good idea.
Rosemary?
Already packing up.
Yeah,
Chuck?
wow.
Yes.
John?
9:30.
Yes.
Okay, and I will vote yes as well.
Snacks at Walmart this afternoon.